Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And it is at these times that we have to bring information whenever that information comes to us. And when we have information that warrants being able to give you that, we are always glad to go right to the sources. We welcome into the program the Public Information Officer over in Assumption Parish, Mr. Lonnie Cavalier. Lonnie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So we know about this second-degree murder that took place over the weekend. Give us a little bit more of the information and details, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so on Sunday afternoon, about 3:40 p.m., we received a 911 call from 111 Elaine Street in Bayou Lewis. That is on the southwest end of the parish. And our deputies responded to that complaint, and upon arrival, we were escorted inside of a home at 111 Elaine Street, and we found a deceased individual by the name of Anastasio Guerrero, 40 years old, of Bayou Lewis, and he was deceased. On the scene, had apparently suffered multiple gunshot wounds.
Yeah, and so you guys do what y'all always do, kind of try to find out more information. Y'all were able to talk to some people there. Did we figure out what the situation was or the issue was with the two gentlemen that were in conflict?
Well, when we got there, first of all, the accused was immediately taken into custody. He was still on scene.
Okay.
And he was identified as Joseph Gilchrist, 52 years of age, and he resided at 111 Elaine Street. We interviewed secured the scene and began interviewing a number of witnesses. There were actually Guerrero, Gilchrist, and another individual who we classified as a witness inside the home. Guerrero and the other individual were all friends with Gilchrist. They went into the mobile home. They sat down. They had some brief discussion, and at some point, Gilchrist drew a weapon out and basically started asking some pretty off-the-wall questions to Guerrero, which was a little strange because they were friends. Mm-hmm. And at some point, he just began indiscriminately firing a large caliber weapon towards Guerrero and struck him at least once in that volley. And then Guerrero basically pleaded for the opportunity to be able to get out and started to crawl out, and Gilchrist fired an additional several rounds, two of which we believe hit him in the back and fatally wounded him.
Wow. So this was not necessarily some heated argument to start with, just some very strange questions, according to the people that were there, and then open fire with this large caliber weapon. Could you qualify what would be considered a large caliber weapon?
Yes. Basically, I can't comment on this specific weapon, but it's going to be, large caliber. We consider, 9mm and above when you're talking about a semi-automatic handgun.
Okay, so semi-automatic would be, and again, you can't be specific to that one because it's an ongoing investigation. We certainly appreciate that about the situation. But he was taken into custody, and based on the information that y'all had, he was arrested there at the scene.
He was immediately taken into custody. He was brought to our CID unit in Labradorville, where he was debriefed there and questioned, and subsequently transported to our detention facility and booked on a charge of second-degree murder.
Okay. And so right now, Mr. Gilchrist is being detained. The charge is second-degree murder, and that will happen until the legal process kind of takes place from there, where they will determine if, in fact, he would be bonded out, which I'm assuming he may not be, the option for bonding out. Well, he does.
Yes, and the judge has set a bond of $500,000 on yesterday.
Okay. I see that now.
As soon as the DA gets the file, they're going to move forward with however they feel appropriate, and that could include a motion to revoke revoke bail. And obviously, at some point in time, my thought is it's going to be grand jury here in Assumption Parish.
Yes, sir. And again, we don't see a lot of these kinds of events, a lot of these. And so can you tell us the community and their response in this situation? Probably pretty alarming to have this second-degree murder take place there in Bayou Lewis.
It's pretty alarming to have it, honestly, with you around here anywhere. The people were obviously shook up, and it's a very small settlement that lives there.
Yes, sir.
And they, yes, they were upset, but they were relieved that he was taken into custody very quickly. And this is an oddity, very odd for us because we hadn't had a homicide in 19 months here.
Wow.
Wow. And when you look around all our neighboring areas, they've seen an uptick in theirs. And it's a homicide. Don't get me wrong. It is one no better than the other.
Right.
Some issues in the past.
Right.
Conflict with neighbors on several occasions. So that's where we're headed with this for the time being until something else develops. We believe that it was some type of conflict, but again, they were friends.
Right. Well, we certainly appreciate your time today and your update. We'll get more of those updates from you as this case continues, but thank you so much for joining us here on HTV today.
Thank you, and you're welcome anytime.
Yes, sir. All right. Again, that's Lonnie Cavalier with Assumption Sheriff's Office, and we appreciate your time today. We're going to take a short break, a whole lot more when we come back right here on Bayou Time.
All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. Martin Falls here, and we are now joined by Captain Brennan Mathern of the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. And certainly this was quite some news coming out of Lafourche Parish with the attempted murder of 4 officers. And there you see some of the pictures there, and we're going to let the captain jump in. And Captain, always tough when we have to report on these news stories, but when it comes close to home, I'm sure that's pretty harrowing for you all.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Martin, and especially after losing one of our own, and Sergeant Nick Pepper, which feels like so recently. It ultimately, this type of scenario is never something you want to wake up to, and that's exactly what occurred on Friday. This incident started early in the morning, which is just odd that we'd have something that starts in the daylight hours. Such an early point in the day. We're used to things starting in the evening or happening overnight in the late morning hours. But the scene that you see right here is what greeted commuters on their way into work around 6:30 a.m. Our officers got called to this incident. 39-year-old David Foray was reportedly shooting his gun in the middle of Highway 1, and he was shooting it kind of over the highway across to the LA 308 side from Highway 1. And our officers responded when they got there. Obviously, they attempted to try to get him to drop that firearm. He refused, then started walking toward our officers. So that ultimately created a high-stakes situation. In the process of doing that, he began taking bullets out of his gun. And so the situation changed a bit, and officers were able to utilize a taser device and attempt to subdue him. By using the taser, they were able to go hands-on with Mr. Foray and attempt to get him in handcuffs. And while they were doing so, and they had a couple of officers that initially tried to do so. While they were doing so, Mr. Foray fought with them very aggressively, very violently. 2 officers from Harbor Police also came to the scene and to try to subdue him. And they eventually did get him in cuffs, but not before Mr. Foray grabbed one of the rifles that one of our patrol officers had and was able to shoot off 4 rounds, or several rounds rather, and endangering the lives of those 4 officers that were there. He also injured 2 of the officers. He used his firearm to strike one of our officers in the head several times, bit another officer, one of our deputies. Both of those individuals went to the hospital and were treated for injuries and released. But ultimately, we did get him in cuffs. We did apply for a search warrant and found 30 firearms at his residence, along with a lot of ammunition. Obviously, this is still under investigation, and we continue to try to find out what he was doing with all that. Ultimately, if he was just a gun enthusiast and owned those large number of guns, we have the ATF in Lafourche Parish today, and they will be with us this week, actively investigating each and every one of those firearms to ensure that they are legally his. And if so, ultimately they'll be returned. But we're just doing our due diligence to make sure that everything is on the up and up in this situation.
Let me ask you, Captain, because we have a few minutes left. First of all, the bail is set at $1,312,500. Pretty big bail. That's good. So secondly, by the picture we're showing here, and I'm just alleging this, but I'm curious, was he on something when he was doing this? Because these pictures, his eyes are pretty lit up here.
Well, ultimately, we haven't gotten to that disclosure in this part of the investigation. As this continues to go on, certainly that will be a focus. Mental capacity and potential of any type of substance being involved. That hasn't been ultimately determined yet and released to the public. But that is going to be one of the many things that is going to be part of this investigation. And certainly with attempted first-degree murder charges, you can bet that all of that information will eventually come to light in the form of a trial if this thing goes that far.
And I know we only have a couple of minutes yet, but this, once again, is just a great example of the kind of work that you and the sheriff and everybody does, putting themselves in harm's way, because this is a prime example of officers in harm's way.
Well, if you follow us on social media, it was a very interesting week for us with a lot of interesting comments. But I will tell you that, look, when everybody else is going to work at 6:30 on a Friday morning, our officers are coming to work, and this is what they have to face. So, I just encourage the public, before you jump to criticize or think that you would know what you would do in a situation, until you put yourself in those shoes, until you actually wear that badge and uniform, it is impossible to know how you would react or what you would do. With all that being said, we understand that we're held to a higher standard, and we expect that and embrace it. And we will continue to deliver our timely information. We will deliver great service to the public and continue to serve our parish well.
Well, Captain, we appreciate you coming on and being transparent. And once again, tough situation for you all in Lafourche, but we thank you once again for your service to the community. We thank the sheriff for the transparency, and we wish all of y'all safety in the future. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you always for the opportunity.
All right, there you have it. Captain Brennan Mathern from the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Department, and we thank him for coming on. And if you or anybody else has news that you would like for us to look into, please give us a call or go to our Facebook page at the HTV Facebook or YouTube. But we'd always like to help the public as we do each and every day when we bring you these news stories. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to Bayou Town. We have the superintendent of Lafourche Parish Schools here, Mr. Jared Martin. We have a couple of segments we're going to get to him on and about, but we also have Dr. Reagan Lorraine, and we're going to talk about her because what an accomplishment. She is the State Principal of the Year finalist, but more importantly, the principal of Galliana Elementary School. So welcome aboard, Dr. Reagan. So how do you feel? This is pretty good stuff.
I mean, it's very exciting. It's definitely an honor. It was an honor to become principal of the year of Lafourche Parish. Then semifinals and finals. It's very humbling.
And you've been at the school for how long?
31 and a half years. Yes.
And you're still smiling.
I am. I love my job.
Yeah.
I do.
So once you become a teacher, it's a lot of fulfillment in that, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah. And you just keep going. How do you stop from getting bored every year? Because you do something for that long. Do you just come up with a new plan, or what do you do?
When you have 350, 370 children, you are never bored. There's always excitement. And I love my job. I really do. I have 1 year left of drop. But I was telling Mr. Martin that after that, I'm probably going to just continue because I still enjoy it. So
he's hurrahing right now. Yeah. It makes his job easier when people like you stick around.
Well, I guess it does.
You just love what you do,
I
right?
do love what I do. I do.
What do
It's
you
a great
teach for the
community.
audience? What do you teach?
When I taught second grade and I taught sixth grade. Mm-hmm. So
That's a difference.
It was, but I much preferred the older kids.
Really?
I did. Mm-hmm.
What was it? So they sort of catch on, they're getting a little more mature at the time?
I think they understand, take out the book, open it up to page 57, whereas the little ones, it takes a little longer.
Right. Mr. Superintendent, what a great honor for Dr. Reagan, right?
And this is the second real great honor that she's really been bestowed this year. The Louisiana Department of Education, the state superintendent, Dr. Kay Brumley, visited her campus, completely unrelated.
Yeah.
And her campus was identified as a comeback campus for Louisiana. And what that really has to do with, all of our kids really had a terrible turn during COVID because the experience of school changed dramatically. And what the State Department did was it really looked at schools and tried to identify what schools have gotten their students back to the achievement levels that they were attaining prior to COVID. What schools have taken COVID in stride and now have students achieving not close to where they were, but exceeding where they were. And her school, because of her leadership, was one of those campuses that Dr. Brumley came and visit. So she's not just popular amongst her peers. She's not just popular amongst her supervisors. Her teachers, day in and day out, are doing the hard work that makes kids successful. And so that's why her campus, I imagine if she gets any more awards that she's even going to tell you, it has a lot to do with her, but she's got a whole campus of people that make this thing happen, and we're real proud of the leadership that she shows.
Now, not only did you teach and all that, but I'm looking at this, and you were a lifeguard? Tell me about that.
Okay, that was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
but you're still a lifeguard if you're teaching children, right? How long ago was that?
Oh, goodness. I was in high school. So we're not going to say how many years ago that was. But I was in high school.
What don't you
It
do?
was fun. I don't know. I like to cook, too. I cook
Do
for
you
my
really?
teachers a lot.
What's your favorite thing you like to cook?
For them or for
Well,
me?
let's do both. Let's do for
Okay,
you and for them.
them, they like when I do pancakes in the morning for them or fry them some beignets. They love that kind of stuff.
Okay, all right.
And look, if it takes for me to feed them, to make them happy, I will do it.
Now, what do you like to cook for yourself?
My husband, he can just cook it and I'll eat it and it works perfect.
Wow, wow.
No, I like to cook almost anything.
So that many years, that's fantastic. Mr. Martin, I know you love to hear that. Doesn't that make your job easier when you have teachers and principals like this that are so committed to what they're doing? If in a perfect world, if everybody were like that, wouldn't it be great?
In a perfect world, like what you just described, my phone wouldn't ring and problems didn't arise. No, she absolutely makes the job not only easy but enjoyable. Again, when a principal wakes up and enjoys what they do every day, it inspires teachers to wake up and enjoy what they do every day, which then inspires kids to wake up and enjoy school. It's a trickle-down leadership that she has brought to the school for many years, that I hope she continues to bring to the school for many years, and one that we want all of our leaders to replicate.
Yeah, so Friday is the big
Saturday.
day? Or is it Saturday?
Saturday,
Okay, so it's July 21st?
22nd.
Well, I don't know why they said 21st.
I know it does.
I'm a
say
day and a
Saturday.
dollar short.
That's
I'm
okay.
a day off and a dollar
It's
short.
on Saturday.
Okay. So does it make you nervous?
No, it doesn't,
Yeah.
because I really feel what I've accomplished being in the top 9 is great, and I'm so satisfied with it. So if anything happens on Saturday, That's just a cherry on top, but
Yeah.
I'm just happy where I'm at.
So
I really
you've
am.
already won.
I have. I really feel like I have.
All
And
right.
I'll have all my family there, so Mr. Martin will be there, so it'll be a great evening.
So when can me and Mr. Morton take a trip to your school so we can eat some pancakes in the morning?
You just need to let me know and I'll cook them.
All right. Yeah,
You just
blueberries
let
to
me
put
know.
on top?
Huh?
I'll bring the blueberries.
You can.
Well, certainly, congratulations. Great honor. And
Thank you.
we'll be waiting to see for sure.
Okay.
And Mr. Morton, we'll see you on the other side, right?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll take a short break. We're going to be right back with more news from Lafourche. Don't go away.
What a great crowd, what a great day to kick off this 1,000 cubic foot per second electric pump station in Gibson, Louisiana, right here on Elliott Jones Canal. This was designed by GIS, constructed by Sea Level, funded by the state of Louisiana for $10 million and Terrebonne Parish for $6 million. But before we get started, I'm gonna ask Mort Black to come up and lead us off in a prayer.
Thank you, Arden. Please bow your heads for a moment. Lord, we recognize your presence here today. We thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon Terrebonne Parish, our leaders, those at the state, those local, the contractor who built this facility. We ask your blessing on all of this, and we ask your continued blessing so that this parish may progress as it has, and your will be done in all things. Thank you very much.
God bless. And Mr. Sue, a veteran of the Korean War, is going to lead us off in a pledge. The flag's right over here, Mr. Sue.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And a round for Mr. Sue, a veteran, and all the veterans. And he is the longest sitting member on the levy board from day one, and he's one of the reasons we got that force we got. Thank you, Mr. Sue. Now with that, I'd like to name the elected officials here. And we have Representative Beryl Amity, Clyde Hammer with the school board, Chief Corey Henry, Steve Pondville, Public Works, Mike Toops, Mort Black, Dana Ortigo, Joyce Seahan, which is director of the pump stations, Clay Nacker, Scotty Dryden, Cohen Guidry, Fred Trowbridge with Steve Scalise's office, Christian Bergeron with Congressman Graves' office, Mr. Sue Henry, Reggie Dupre, director of the levy board, Angela Raines, Tony Alford, president of the levy board, and Mitch Beaumont, who is the project engineer of the Morganza to the Gulf. Council members, Darren Guidry, Carl Harding, John Amity, Danny Babin, Dirk Guidry, and we have from Sea Level, the contractors, Joe Marcella, project manager, Darrell LaBeouf, Kevin Passman, Kathleen Rodriguez, Lloyd Gibson from Constable of this area, Norman Porsche, Roddy LaReal with Recreation, O'Neill Marlbrook, engineer on this with the rest of his crew from GIS, Chip Klein, who is now with GIS, was head of CPRA, and Trey Middleton, Joe Chauvin, Philip Aback, Chris Janice, Dwayne Villian, And we have Joe Harrison with the Juvenile Detention Center for Terrebonne Parish. Thanks everyone for coming out here. You know, this project started in 2017 to permit it. Graciously, the state through CPRA, through Chip Klein, Governor John Bell Edwards, put up $10 million. Terrebonne Parish put up $6 million. And we started on this huge project. And then came along COVID for 2 years. Then came along Ida. And so here we are in 2023 finishing this project, but it was no fault of anyone except the supply lines. It was hard to get supplies. But while we were building this, we were building numerous other projects at Terrebonne Parish, which we've been breaking ground or cutting ribbons on. And everyone, the parish president in Terrebonne or any parish is no good without their department heads. And I've got some of the greatest department heads, and they really care about Terrebonne. And please give them a round of applause, because they made this happen. You know, the workers in Terrebonne, we've progressed their pay. We got them up to more standards than what they were being paid before. A little something about it. Well, on the west side of the intercoastal, there's three drainage systems. All the way to the east is the 11B, which goes all the way to Thibodeau. And that drains, from Thibodeau all the way to 182 by Senactoin. The other drainage system, the 11A, which we just broke ground on, a pump station and a retention area there, that's the 11A. This is the Chacahula Basin. So that's the three drainage systems that keep the west side of the intercoastal dry. And the Chacahula Basin is 108,000 acres, and it drains everywhere from Westgate to the lakes, to Donna, to Shreva, to Gray, to Chacahula, to Bar Black, and actually Summerfield pumps into it. So it drains the majority of the homes in Terrebonne Parish.
And welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls, joined by Big Mike Fazee, Senator, right here from our area. And in case you haven't noticed or weren't watching, Laura Ingram had a news piece late last week and brought Big Mike on national news. And it all stemmed from, of course, it's the sex reassignment surgery issue that came up. And it just had a lot of, ands, ifs, or buts on it, which way a lot of people would go. But let's set the scene first with Senator Fazee. And this is something you brought up before. So this year wasn't the first time you brought up the fact that minors really should wait because of various reasons. So bring us up to speed. And when originally had you brought this up?
2 years ago, 2 sessions prior to this one, I had brought it up, and it wasn't that well known of what the problems were that I had dug in through some previous information I had got on how serious it was going to get. And so when I brought it 2 years ago, it was a great turnout against me, which broke the record in the Senate record for as red cards for against something in committee, and I had 402 red cards that day in committee, and that's it was kind of tough to not know that I didn't have that great a support at the time on how much it is greatly moved today, and got a lot more support.
And probably got more support, if I could be candid, because the governor is on the way out. And I guess people felt a little more bold as to how they would vote, you think?
Well, I think it just, the knowledge wasn't there. I just don't think enough people knew the traumatic situations that this causes children once they're in their 20s. Actually, it was probably a good thing for me to help win this thing this round, is because I got so many emails and so much data coming in on how the children that did it at a young age and now in their 20s, whether is at any age, or more susceptible to suicide than they are while they're a child. And actually, some numbers I've seen is 19 times greater for suicide after the fact.
And so what I want to, they had an override on this, and I want to roll this in because this is, I've been on the news desk for quite some time, and I've never really heard something quite this bold. I mean, I've heard lawmakers called a lot of things over the years, but I've never really heard something that went to this extreme. So let's roll this in right now, once again, courtesy of the Laura Ingraham program on Fox News, and we'll come back and we'll let the governor discuss what you're about to hear.
Louisiana, lawmakers standing up for parental rights. Well, they're overriding a veto by the governor on so-called gender-affirming care for minors. I mean, sex changes, puberty blockers, and other treatments that will now be banned for minors. And that is a win. But how did the tolerant left react to all of this? Well, as expected.
I just wanted to say congratulations to our state senator, Big Mike Facey, and that fat moron voted to make things worse for people who are already suffering. You fat you did not produce any evidence to support the claims you made about people being harmed by transgender care. So you big fat-headed I can't wait to read your name in the obituary. I will make a martini made from the tears of butthurt conservatives when we put your on the ground. You fat, useless piece of you. I hope you have a terrible day. Go yourself.
That's incredible. When you listen to it, just not only the choice of words, but the amount of fervor that Marcus Venable used. Did you have an association with this guy prior to this?
No, I never heard of him. And when he says, when we put you in the ground, to me, that's a true out threat. I mean, because there's only one way you go when you go in the ground.
Mm-hmm. And he was associated with LSU. Have you made any calls to LSU, and what's been your conversation about this?
Well, President Tate of LSU called me, and we had a good discussion. And I tell you, I have a lot of respect for him because our discussion kind of really told that he was going to take care of business and try to clean up a lot of the stuff around LSU if he finds any more. But he's going to be strong-willed in making sure that things like this become a thing of the past.
And I think, just to speak on behalf of free speech, I think you would agree, and most people would agree, we all want free speech. We want people to be able to express themselves. But some things really sort of get the attention of everybody. And if people want to say things, you elected, you have tough skin. But like you said, the component of was it a threat or was it not a threat, that's when it really becomes an issue, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's why they got laws against hollering fire while you're in a cinema, because people could get hurt over it. So you still have free speech, but it depends on how you use that speech and if you're using it as a threat or to cause harm to someone.
Yeah. Let's do this. I want to talk more about this, and we'll go more in depth on this, but we're going to take a short break here on Bayou Time. This was an incredible recording that Senator Mike Facey had on his message, and we're going to talk more about this because it's been garnering a lot of attention, and it's been garnering a lot of national attention. We'll be right back. right, welcome back. We're once again talking with Senator Mike Fazee about a message he received from Marcus Venable, who was teaching at LSU as a graduate assistant type situation. And, I know, Senator, as we turn back to you, that you've talked to university, they've made it pretty clear that everyone's entitled to their right for free speech, but that allegedly they feel that Mr. Venable crossed the line here.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's something that, like you said, us as politicians, we can take different things all day long. But when it comes to this position, you kind of wonder, how dangerous is this?
Mm-hmm. Now, he asserted in so many words that by this particular law, it would cause or create a situation where more people would commit suicide. But you told me you had facts and figures that you had compiled saying that if they do get the sex change early and later they realize they made a mistake and they can't go back, that creates an avenue for suicide.
Yeah, like I said, I'd ran this thing 2 sessions prior, and a lot of the data I had got back showed that the later, once they've got into the mid-20s and late 20s, and they wanted to come back to what they were when they were born, that the suicide rate's like 19 times in some readings we're finding. I had many of reports from overseas in the Europe area, because they're always 10, 15 years ahead of us in things like this, and some of the dramatic things that's taken place when these kids do this at such a young age.
Yeah, and of course, we offer to Marcus Venable a chance to come on our program. It's always been our fair nature that whoever would like to come on the program, we'd like to have you on. So we'd love to hear from you and create our own questions for you as to why this message was delivered in the way it was delivered, because obviously it's a passion-filled issue to begin with, but you would almost think that, I know it opened a lot of eyes to people going, wow, who's teaching our children?
Yeah, I mean, in these things, and like I said many a times, we need to learn to agree to disagree. We all got our own opinion, we got our own beliefs, and what we think strongly about, no matter how emotional we get, we shouldn't take it out on the person who we're going against in any kind of way. We need to just compromise. A lot of things, that's how the system works, is people compromise and you get some things passed and some things you don't.
And doesn't this, in Louisiana for sure, we have a very conservative nature. I mean, we see that in every presidential race and everything that goes on. And for people who are teaching their children all through life about, what their beliefs are. And then I think the big thing that everybody's arguing about, you get to these universities and one person or a group of people that sort of want to change your whole idea of how you were brought up. Is that where a lot of the contention comes in?
Oh, it's a great deal. I mean, I hear it left and right, especially throughout all, not just state of Louisiana universities, but all over the country, is that the conservative values are no longer heard and cannot be spoken. And you can see that canceling conservative speaking at universities across the nation. We're just going in a direction that we need to correct. And all I did was make sure this bill got, it got killed in committee. I got it revived and got it passed because that's what the people wanted. I mean, that's just how it is.
Did it stop with that message, or did you get more threats, or did you get more support? This went on a national conservative TV talk show. What happened after that?
Well, actually, somebody slipped the thing on Twitter, and there's been 4,700,000 views that I saw so far. And out of that, you know, if you want a true poll of conservatives versus this situation, only about 9,800 likes of what he said out of 4,700,000. So, you know, that kind of tells you where the country's at in that stance. Because, I mean, we got age limits for children, even all, driving, drinking, everything. Why not, before they change, you know, their individualism, it just doesn't make any sense till they grow up.
Just real quick, did you ever think when you were elected senator, I know it was a possibility to get issues like this, but did you ever think you would be getting a phone message like you got?
No, I didn't. Let's back up even a few more years. I never would have thought I would have had to pass legislation.
Very true.
Like this is, according to what how we're living today. I mean, that's why, on the Senate floor, I held up my phone and said, 20 years ago, this wouldn't be an issue. And this has got a lot to do with it. The cell phone's got a lot to do with it, because these kids are thinking that they can change their life over people saying how great it is.
Yeah. And I know the obvious thing, real quick, with 40 seconds left, is to react. Did you reach out to Mr. Venable, or you just let it?
I just let it go. All I did is, hearing that, I called Tim up, our sheriff, and he told me to get with the state police. Got with the state police, and they took it from there. And between that and LSU, I've let them do everything they need to do, because, that's their position. I'm here just to make sure I get laws that we need to save our community.
All right. Senator Mike Fazee, thank you as always. We appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll see you on regular terms. Right?
Okay.
All right. Thank you once again. Senator Mike Fazee, we'll see you right around the break. Don't go away. And welcome back to Bayou Time. A very special note today. Reserve Major Herb Theriault is celebrating his 50 years of service to Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. And Sheriff Craig Weber, of course, is present, and he was involved welcoming everybody to such a great event. We don't get to say many times that someone has 50 years of service in law enforcement. So we want to spend a little time now honoring Reserve Major Herb Theriault.
And welcome. We'll do a very short, kind of semi-informal, but we will ask everybody please stand, and we'll lead off with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Father Bruce to come on up and lead us in invocation.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, provider of all that is good, provident God, we thank you for the gifts of everything that you have blessed us with, especially for the life of Mr. Theriault, for the past 50 years of his service to our community. Lord, we ask your blessing upon him, upon his family, upon our police force who continue to serve and to protect us. Holy Spirit, we ask for your guidance, and we give you thanks for the gifts that you have always blessed us with, and the gifts that you will continue to bless us with. We pray this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Father Bruce is trying to make me feel old. I went up, introduced myself, said, "How you doing?" He says, "Hey, you taught me dare." I thought, man, if that makes me feel like that, how does Mr. Herb feel thinking he's taught everybody else in this room? At this time, I'm not going to steal anymore. I'd like to introduce and welcome up our Sheriff, Craig Weber, for helping make this day possible, continuing Mr. Herb's service, and I will turn it over to the Sheriff. Thank you, sir.
Well done. Thank you, Elliot. Thank all of you for being here. I am so very excited. I've had a lot of great milestones in my career, but this is a first. And this is a first and probably an only to be able to recognize an individual who has committed and served for 50 years in a law enforcement capacity. It really takes three things, right? You probably got to start young, you got to live long, but most importantly, you got to have the heart and the commitment and the drive and the enthusiasm. And all of those words describe Mr. Herb Theriault. As a young sheriff, starting off in 1992, I probably didn't know Herb that well. He may have taught me first aid in some class somewhere, but I soon got introduced to him. And I remember him saying this then, and he continues to say it. He says, "I'll be here as long as you're here." Never did I think 30-something years later he would live true to those words, because he has been here as long as I've been here. I've only been to one other ceremony or reception where a person was being recognized for 5 decades of service. And this is the only time that I get to personally preside and recognize that individual. Mr. Herb has a couple other quick milestones that I thought I would mention before I describe a little bit about his work here. I understand that on Saturday, he celebrated 62 years of marriage to Miss Sandra. That's a really impressive milestone. And he'll soon be celebrating his 86th birthday on August the 3rd, so we may as well consider this a little bit of an early birthday party as well. But Herb began in 1973, July 23rd, the day after his wedding anniversary, with then Sheriff Bobby Tardo. And if you look on the screen up there, they were able to find a commission card that would have been issued to a young Herb Theriault in 1973. When Sheriff Tardo was replaced by Sheriff Duffy Bro, Herb continued his service, and he continued in 1992 when I got elected. His specialty through all of those years was saving lives. Saving lives by teaching first aid, CPR, and automatic electronic defibrillators. In addition to saving lives, he made it safe for police officers who have to drive in all sort of treacherous conditions when they're handling a complaint, responding to someone in need, or engaged in a pursuit, by teaching emergency vehicle operators classes to law enforcement officers. And if you think about just the time that he's been here, I asked earlier, what is our current academy session? Because there are cadets that are being trained right now. And I was told it was the 123rd session, which tells you that in the time that he has worked for me, he has taught in at least 123 separate academies. And if you just multiply an average of 25 people times that, you look at it's over 3,000 police officers. Police officers who now are either retired because they can't make 50 years or choose not to, or they are occupying responsible positions in their professions within this organization and within many other local, state, and federal organizations. So his footprint of leadership and teaching and professionalism goes far and wide beyond the borders of Lafourche Parish, and I'm sure beyond the borders of the state of Louisiana. If teaching and volunteering his time wasn't enough, Herb also has assisted us by participating on several boards that we have. We have an accident review board. Anytime an officer is involved in a crash, whether it's an at-fault or a non-fault crash, an objective group of individuals has to review that accident and crash and supporting materials and render a decision as to whether there was any fault and what are the proper corrective measures to be given. He also serves on our response to resistance board. Many agencies use the phrase use of force. Our agency uses the phrase response to resistance because we don't use force. When we encounter resistance, we respond. And that is an area ripe for civil liability, litigation, and officer misconduct. Herb, because he's a fair and objective man with years of experience, is part of that board, which serves a critical function. In addition to the award he'll be receiving shortly, in 2009, he was awarded a Distinguished Service Medal from the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. In 2017, he got promoted to captain. In 2021, not only was he promoted to major, but he was recognized as the Deputy of the Year and received the Sheriff's Star. Herb's still teaching, and I think he'll continue to teach as long as he's able and as long as we have academies. And more importantly, and on a personal level, I get to see Herb once a month, at least once a month. And he's always got his positive attitude. He brings joy wherever he goes, and he travels the parish to every facility that we occupy and checks the automatic electronic defibrillators, or the AEDs. And from someone who ended up in the emergency room almost a year ago and was defibrillated and given 2 stents, I now have a much better appreciation for the need for that life-saving device to be present if it's ever needed and to be functional when it is needed. So with that, Herb, I want to thank you personally and professionally on behalf of not only myself and your co-workers here, but the citizens of Lafourche Parish for your 50 years, 5 decades, half-century of loyal, dedicated, professional service. We have a shadow box that I'm going to present to you, a certificate, and because we have so few of these, you will get the only and first ever 50-year watch. However, it didn't come in time. So when I say you will get it, I don't mean today. I mean as soon as it comes in. But we have a picture of it. So please join me in congratulating, welcoming a dear friend and a great public servant, and Herb Theriault. I'm going to get Elliot to hold one each. And I'm going to hold one. Herb, you got as much time in the microphone as you want. Okay, here we go.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, but most of all, I got to thank our Lord Jesus Christ for giving me the strength and the health to do what I'm doing, because I enjoy teaching. And for this many years, to work with a good sheriff and to have a good staff that we didn't have before at the academy when I was teaching before for 30-some years. I had to do it all myself. And my wife used to have to fill out the cards and order the stuff. And then good Major Day here, before he was major, when he said, he's the one that said, let's get a few deputies certified in teaching, so they give me a help. And it's because I used to do the defensive driving, CPR, hazmat, and everything, and I ran the good sheriff when he first got here, defensive driving. I had to teach him. And I had to sit there and audit him while he was driving to see if he did everything correctly. Then we went to lunch. If he passed real good, he did a real good job. But I got to thank him for that staff he's got. I wouldn't have the enthusiasm as the sheriff. He called me the ambassador, because I love to go out and talk to people. I just don't check the defibrillators. I like to go out and talk to people and tell them what's about and help people. And come back to the sheriff and tell them how good it is down the bar or whatever. Because if I put this star on, I want to represent him. Like he told you before, when I first got here with him, he didn't know me until you found out what I did. So he called me in the office one day. He said, what commission you want? I heard you've been here a long time. I said, I want to start from the bottom. I want to work my way up. He said, okay. So that's when I started working up. But I enjoyed everything so much, and especially having so many bosses I had, and wound up with a big boss now. Chief Roy Grow and the sheriff. That's my two bosses now, and my other boss. Well, he's the one that got the academy real going for me and the staff. I got to thank the staff. Wouldn't be nothing with Captain Johnson, Evan, and all the other people. I just enjoyed it that we got a good staff now and a good academy. That's why I'm the call ambassador, because I enjoy what I do. And everything's got to be done right. We're not going to cut corners in CPR and first aid, because our life depends on it. And like the sheriff told me, he said, man, I need you to make sure that defibrillator works. I said, don't worry, Sheriff, I'm going to take care of your office, make sure the defibrillator working right. But it takes a long and that enthusiasm, like the sheriff said, that you want to do it for the good of your heart. When I get out and teach, I teach from my heart. I want people to understand how important life is, and when you're going to be a deputy, what that badge means to you. You're representing a lot of people. And I want the sheriff and them to know when I go out, I really put the word out that everybody's doing a good job. And if they're not, I'm going to report back to them. A lot of people didn't like to see me coming around too much because, oh, he's going to tell the sheriff something. But I enjoy what I do, and I got to thank Damien and Val for your helping with Major Day at the Academy, because it made the Academy much easier now than it was before. But still, I hope to teach a lot longer, as long as the sheriff let me stay. 50 years was good. My health is good, but I got to thank my wife, put me up for 62 years. And my kids, all my kids, been teaching a lot at night and all. Didn't get to see them as much as I wanted because I taught in different parishes. And actually 7 different parishes the sheriff let me go teach. They didn't pay me, but they commissioned me. So I'm commissioned in 7 different parishes as a deputy. But it's all thanks to him. We pushed the good word out. Lafourche is not hiding anything. We're going to let you use our instructor. So we went out and taught them. And I taught just like I would teach the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. The bottom line with is how important it is to save a life. And a lot of people don't know that, and that's why I try to tell at the Academy, we don't know it until you save a life. But when you put that star on, you got to remember you're not only representing, sure you represent the whole Lafourche Parish. And we got to remember that when we go out, how you dress, how your attitude. Always dress properly. I always wanted to be top dressed. I didn't want to look shabby or nothing. I wanted to be there where the sheriff would be proud to see me. So before I do all my defibrillation, I'd go to his office first and see him and the chief to make sure they think I looked all right before I went out on the road. But I got to thank y'all again for being here. It's a great honor. I wasn't looking for it. I just enjoyed teaching. I didn't think I'd make 50 years, but I did. And thank the good Lord, because I was like the sheriff. I had open heart surgery. I had gallbladder surgery. I had cancer. I had leukemia. That's why I thank the good Lord to let me keep going teaching. And as far as I know, he told me I got a few more good years to teach. And thank our good pastor, Father Bruce, being here. I'm one of his top ushers, I hope. So we passed a good word around. And I want to thank you all again, and I can't thank you again, Major Dave, and the sheriff and all, and the chief. Thank you all very much for the fine service. Thank you very much.
Two things I did want to say. One, thank you to the family for y'all giving them to us for 50 years. It's a huge sacrifice that y'all gave for others, and we appreciate it. And on a side note, we did a lot of thinking, what could we get him? The watch will be on the way. I apologize for that one. But the shadow box is usually for someone who retires. But we figured we'll never get that opportunity with Mr. Herb to do a retirement, so we did the shadow box now. So if I could, anybody else would like to say anything? In that case, I'll ask if the family will come up and take some pictures with Mr. Herb so we can commemorate it. We appreciate it. I'm sorry, one other thing. Father Bruce, if you'd come up. Sure. Mr. Herb is true to his word and definitely a man of Christ, and his only request was that his children and their significant others be here, and that Father Bruce could be here to bless the food as all food should be done. So, Father?
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, we give you thanks for all the gifts that you have given us, for this opportunity to celebrate Mr. Terrio, his years of service, for the wonderful work that our sheriff and his cops do for us in protecting us, keeping us safe. We ask your blessing upon us, upon our time together, our fellowship, the life of Mr. Terrio and his family, and the food that we will receive as we pray together. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty, through Christ our Lord. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you.
This means a lot to me to see so many people who recognize what I do as a volunteer. And I thank the good Lord for giving me the strength to do it. And I hope I have a few more good years to teach, to save lives. That's the important thing, to save lives and help one up. And that's why I enjoy teaching with the Sheriff's Department for this many years. In the different parishes I teach with the Sheriff's Department. It's an honor and a privilege to see so many people that recognize what I do. And I hope they all realize that we're here to save lives. Thank you all very much for being here and giving me the opportunity to spend 50 years with the Sheriff's Department. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Major Herb Terrio. We appreciate your service. And we'll be right back. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls, and we're joined by State Representative Tanner McGee, who sort of gave us some interesting news this week as he decided that he won't be seeking his office again, and for many reasons. But we have the state rep here today. And Tanner, good to see you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And of course, me and you talked before. You've always sort of hinted that the climate was changing in Baton Rouge. And I guess to trump the climate, I know your wife and 3 beautiful daughters sort of trumps everything. So it makes so I guess maybe my first question would be, in a nutshell, when you got smiling faces waiting for you at home and you have a lot of toxic atmosphere in Baton Rouge, it makes it for an easy choice, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I've actually only slept better since I made the decision, to be honest with you. No, you know, everybody knows I have triplets. They're 14 years old. One of the things about that is I only get to do it once, as if you had an only child. So they're entering high school really right now. There's 4 years left with them, and then they're going to go on and do their lives. When I started sitting down and going through my process about running for re-election, that was the factor that weighed the most. Is I want to be here. I want to, you know, I missed out on, I think I saw 2 of their softball games growing up. I don't want to miss the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. You miss out a lot depending on the season is for being in Baton Rouge. And I want to also, when I go to the games, I want to just be a dad and cheer and not worry about politics. I want to just enjoy it and be present. A lot of times I felt distracted. Something else would be going on. People would be calling me, and I felt like I was kind of only halfway there watching the game. I wanted to give it my full attention and just be there. And so that was definitely the most overriding factor. You know, every year or every time I've gone through this process, whenever you do your last session in Baton Rouge, you're always kind of annoyed and frustrated. But usually you start having like a bounce back towards the summer where you get some rest, some relaxation, and you start looking forward to with stuff. And every year it's kind of that looking forward to was decreasing. And then this past year, I just didn't have any sort of desire or motivation. And then, you know, frankly, I'm an extremely competitive person. Anybody who knows me knows that. So you want to run for re-election because you're competitive by nature. But then when I started thinking about it, that's not a reason to do the job. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not a reason why you should run for office. I ran because I wanted to help people. I wanted to serve the parish. And I came to a point where my personal life I thought was overtaking that desire to serve right now. Maybe not for forever, but it's definitely, those were the main factors in my mind.
Let me ask you this, because like I said, we've talked about the toxic atmosphere a couple of times, and just watching what Senator Fazy just went through with a phone call, probably one of the most toxic phone calls I've heard in my lifetime. That's incredible.
I don't want to patronize what he went through. I think we've all received those phone calls.
What's to say?
And it's way more common than people realize. And so, I was upset for Senator Fazy to have to go through that and hear it. But I can tell you, he's not the only one this session who received a phone call like that.
And I guess that's my point. I mean, there's a line where you become a leader and a public official, then you become a person. Most people are going to be offended and horrified by stuff like that.
Yeah, and look, I think sadly the comments online are way worse than even the phone calls you get, because they feel a sense of, protection from the keyboard. I had a guy on Instagram send me like, "Hope you die," kind of similar stuff that Mike had. And then I started just engaging back and forth with him, and then we found out we had something in common. And he actually apologized to me, but I had to create that personal connection with him before he realized that I'm a human being too, and I'm not some just mythical person that you see online. And so, but it's common. I mean, it's
you don't know
common.
when it's actually an idle threat or if it's a real threat. I mean, they may be having a bad day and just put something distasteful on, but you don't know it.
No, absolutely not. And that's the difference. I try to call people. A lot of my Facebook stuff I used to do is, "Hey man, give me your phone number, I'll call you." When I saw some really ugly things, and most of the times, that would be enough. But now, they will never want to engage like that in person, man to man, woman to woman situation. They want to have that online. They like the clicks. They like feeling like they're big and bad on social media. But in person, if you ever run into them, "Oh, that's not what I meant." We've had a lot of times, I've never done it, but some legislators will call state police. The state police will actually investigate depending on the threat level. And almost every one of them, "Oh, that was an accident." People claim they got their accounts hacked. But you don't know. I mean, you could be a real actual crazy person out there. Even if there's not a serious threat though, Mark, it's still not enjoyable to have that kind of stuff in your life, that sort of negative energy coming at you all the time. It gets tiring.
And of course, we have two segments here. We'll breach it here, but you've done such a tremendous job in Baton Rouge, and the monies that have come in to this area with the delegation. And of course, you're one of the leaders of the delegation. It's been incredible. So a lot of great things have happened.
More money in the last 8 years while I've served. It's the most money spent by the state of Louisiana, any parish, over the last 8 years is in Terrebonne Parish, number one. I don't know. I obviously don't know the history of it, but I'd be hard pressed for another legislator to be able to say that he brought that much money back to his parish in the form of projects.
I always remember the late Senator Chabert talking about bringing home the bacon. But y'all brought home a lot of bacon.
We did, and a lot of stuff is just getting started. I mean, I'll be proud. Probably over the next 4 years, seeing all the money that we brought back, and seeing those construction projects beginning. They're in the oven right now, and I'm gonna look forward to seeing all the work being done over the next 4 years too.
Let's do this. We'll take a short break. We'll come back with Tanner McGee, a state representative. He has announced that he will not be seeking re-election. We'll talk about some of the projects he's most proud of when we come back. All right, we are back with State Representative Tanner McGee, who has announced that he is not going to be seeking re-election for his state rep seat. And he had risen high in the ranks as Speaker Pro Tem. But now he's decided, for family reasons, and like he said, just not fun as much as it used to be. But let's talk about some of the fun that you had, because I'm sure it's a lot bad and it's a lot toxic. But what are some of the projects that you feel most proud?
Well, I'll tell you, there's two bills that I passed that are going to lead to a lot of projects. One of them very specifically. One a couple of years ago, I passed House Bill 578, which moved some BP money, $750 million from a trust fund that wasn't doing anything and put it towards infrastructure projects. Reason why I'm so proud of it is because it's under construction right now, but the elevation of LA1 from Golden Meadow to Grand Isle to connect Port Fourchon in a way to keep it as both a hurricane route and economic development, because the more trucks that can go in and out of Fourchon, the better in this entire region is. The reason why I'm so proud of it is because that coalition who was trying to get that road elevated had been trying for years without any success to get that funding project. And then I followed this kind of novel way of looking at it and funding it. And when I did it, nobody thought it was going to pass. I got so many patronizing kind of comments. Oh, yeah, whatever. Former Senator Norby Chabert said, if that bill passes, I'll do a shot of gutter water from Bourbon Street. He was a co-author.
Did he do it?
We came up with something that had alcohol in it that looked like a shot of gutter water. And then, I really learned, and I worked really hard on the process of passing major legislation on that bill. And, good bills often don't happen the first time. The first time I ran it, it didn't have enough traction. The second time I ran it, I figured out some things. I changed up my strategy a little bit, and it passed. And that wasn't just that project. It was actually $750 million across the state, mega projects that will help all of our roads and bridges. And more specifically, when you actually tie in with federal funding to all that's going to bring in, it's well over $1 billion. That was one of my favorite things. The second thing is another road and bridges projects, because everybody complains about the roads and bridges. I was really trying hard to address it. The governor had been trying to pass a gas tax since he got elected. It wasn't getting anywhere. It really wasn't a good idea. So me and another senator collaborated, and what we did is we moved $300 million from the existing vehicle sales tax from that to roads and bridges. It was a very difficult bill to pass. And, Governor Edwards said he was going to veto it. I had to do a whole lot of maneuvering behind the scenes to keep him. After passing it, I had to do a whole lot of maneuvering behind the scenes to keep him from vetoing it. He didn't veto it, thankfully. And now he goes around the state touting all the stuff that they're doing with the $300 million and the $1 billion from the BP stuff. So that's really my two most, I think, legacy is going to be, increased funding, which I think you're going to really see that next 4 years, not now, because it takes a while for that money to kind of start getting going, the projects lined up.
Let me ask you, because I've got many interesting phone calls over the years, especially during hurricane coverage. I know as a state rep that you get many interesting phone calls. Any one or two stick out over the years that you might have got that make you chuckle, make you go, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, I got a great one. I was at home on a Sunday, and it was really when we were struggling for money and all the things that were going on related to that. And Jay Darden, the division administration leader and former lieutenant governor, was saying some things in a committee meeting in the Senate that I wasn't at, but I was following along on Twitter. And I started responding saying this isn't correct. Like I was like live tweeting the thing. And all of a sudden I got a phone call and it said blocked number. And usually when it was a blocked number, it was either Gordy Dove or Norby calling me about something. That was my, and I thought it was going to be Norby telling me to lay off, making fun of the Senate or making fun of Jay, because he was known to kind of do that. And so I got kids, my girls are young, and they're running around screaming, and I go, hello, and it's like, this is Governor Edwards, and it was John Bell, unhappy with my tweeting. And I couldn't really talk to him, though, because my kids were like,
right,
screaming around stuff. But I mean, it was the governor, so I was trying to be polite and deferential, because I'm one of those people that however you feel about the person, you always treat the office with deference. And so I was being as polite as I could be. And in the meantime, I got, girls trying to put makeup on me and the whole entire 9 yards.
Oh, that's hilarious. But you say you're gonna miss some parts, but you say you were sleeping better since you made the decision. So obviously you had some inner turmoil where you were trying to decide this for a while.
Yeah, I mean, look, I always try to be humble and stuff. I think I was really good at it. I mean, I think I did a great job of it. I think I really
that is the perception.
I felt that way. I mean, I worked really hard. I tried really hard. You get to this position where you feel like if you're not doing it, maybe the next person won't be as good as you, or they'll mess up everything you've been doing. And so you struggle with that. That's a real deal struggle is, we did so many things to get the state and the parish and going in the right direction. And I think the foundation's there. But I'm not going to be there to see it kind of keep on going. And that sort of internal struggle is hard. It really is.
Who jumped higher, you or your wife, when you made the decision?
She definitely did.
Dan, I appreciate you coming on and being candid. And thank you for your service and what you did for our great area, because, like I said, perception is you brought in a lot of money, did a lot of great things. We appreciate your service, and thank you so much. Good luck with your wife and the twins, because they'll be seeing you a lot.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, there you have it, Tanner McGee, and we appreciate him coming on. We're going to keep you posted on the race to replace him, and we'll see how many get in that race. So we'll take a short break. We'll be back with a lot more right here on Bayou Time. Don't go away.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And we always like to bring you updated information. Very often we have to deal with our wonderful and local law enforcement. And we welcome back to the program Lonnie Cavalier, the Public Information Officer at Assumption Parish Sheriff's Office. Lonnie, thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, tell us a little bit about what we've been able to find out. We've got some good news, I think.
Well, over this past weekend, we have been working a shooting in the Labradorville area that occurred on that particular one.
June 11th?
June 11th.
Yes, sir.
June 11th at a local alcohol retail establishment on Highway 1 north of Labradorville, in which an individual, there was a fight that occurred, and he... After the fight finished, he ran into a crowd and started firing a gun. Unfortunately, he hit several people. Good news is that none of them was seriously injured. As a result of that, he was arrested on Friday with the assistance of Thibodaux Police Department, Lafourche Parish, and the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office. And he was booked into our facility Friday night and is being held without bond. That individual, his name is Corey Jacob Davis. He's 23 years old of 1200 Louise Street in Thibodaux.
And so we were really excited that y'all were able to kind of make sure that we got him. He was arrested. Can we talk about some of the charges that he's been placed with?
Yes, he's been charged with attempted first-degree murder, illegal carrying of weapons, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, illegal use of a firearm in a place that serves alcoholic beverages, and illegal use of weapons or dangerous instrumentalities. And he, as a result of that, he was ordered held without bond. Obviously, the charges are very serious, and we believe that the no bond ordered by the judge was appropriate.
Yes, sir. And again, that attempted first-degree murder was 7 counts because seven different people were injured from him firing that weapon. That's correct. He, indiscriminately fired into the crowd, and it was a very crowded place. We were very fortunate that there were no fatalities and that the injuries were not any more serious than they were. Yeah, and I got to tell you, a lot of these kinds of situations, we kind of have to rely on the judge to kind of make that decision about whether they're held without bond or they have some bond established. You guys in law enforcement have to feel really good about the fact that this guy is being held without bond and that he can't go back out on the streets and get bonded out. Yes, and we actually have Judge Verdigetz was the issuing judge that issued that order. And we're very happy that Judge Verdigetz and any of the other judges recognized the seriousness of what these people did, of what this guy did. And of course, we had another one on the weekend as well.
And they should be held without bond accordingly, because they are a risk to the public, obviously, if they are released. And we motioned the court to hold them without bond, and they agreed with that.
Yeah, and it's just one of those situations where I think, that's that fear, is that some person who is not really handling or managing things well fires into a crowd and just does that. And I think that makes us all a little leery about being out in the public in general, and just being somewhere where we can get injured or our family members can get injured.
Well, we have been very fortunate in the last 18 months. We have not had a fatality until about 4 weeks ago in Bar Lewis, a fatal, an actual homicide. So we consider ourselves very fortunate, and we've been, we do a lot of community policing. We try to stay on top of these things, but things happen, and we recognize that at some point or another we are going to get hit with it, and basically we did, and unfortunately these things fall in that in the term of a mass shooting, because it qualifies as a mass shooting because of 4 people being shot.
Right.
But again, it's what you do with it once we have him. We've been in touch with the district attorney. We've been in touch with the court. And, it's moving along, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that, he never has this opportunity again.
Right. And again, just to recap, Corey Jacoby Davis, 23 years old, of 1200 Louise Street in Thibodaux, was arrested on multiple counts of first-degree murder arising from the June 11th incident that took place at the retail establishment that you talked about. And he's got 7 counts of attempted first-degree murder, illegal carrying of weapons, possession of a firearm on premises of an alcoholic beverage outlet, and illegal use of weapons or dangerous instrumentalities. And so, again, we're so very thankful that you guys did the job that y'all were able to do, and working with other law enforcement. That's one of those things that, he lives in a different area, and you guys were able to work with other law enforcement. It's always great that we're able to do that.
Yeah, and we have a great working relationship with Terrebonne Parish, as well as Lafourche Parish in the city of Thibodaux, and Houma PD, and because a lot of we do have a lot of our people that we end up having to deal with come from those areas, and vice versa. We will assist them in any way that we can.
Yes, sir. Well, we certainly appreciate it very much. So, Lonnie, thank you for coming on and sharing the information with us. We appreciate that. And again, for everybody that works there with Assumption Parish Sheriff's Office, thank you for the job that y'all do and putting your lives on the line every day.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Very good, guys. And that will do it for this particular segment. We appreciate Lonnie Cavalier coming on to tell us a little bit more about Corey Jacoby Davis, who is in custody. All right, that'll do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. We have a whole lot more Bayou time when we continue.
Everybody, welcome back into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. Tragedy over the weekend in Bayou Vista, that's in between Morgan City and Berwick, as a fire killed 2 people and injured another person. The fire has been under investigation in that area, including by the state Fire Marshal's office. Here to join us to talk a little more about it is the Public Affairs Director, Ashley Rodrigue. Ashley, thanks so much for being with us. You're going to update us on this fire, and then we'll talk a little bit later about the burn ban that's going on in our state now. It's not just parish-wide, but statewide. But first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about what happened in this fire over the weekend?
Sure, like you mentioned, definitely a tragic situation where you have a man and a woman dead in this fire, another man very badly injured, and then at least 2 pets killed in this fire. So it happened about 7:45 in the morning on Saturday, August 5th, and the call came in for a mobile home fire. It's been better described as a double-wide mobile home in the 100 block of Jupiter Street. When firefighters got there, they actually came across that man who was badly burned outside with a woman who got out without injury, trying to put the fire out, and certainly concerned that there were 2 other individuals still inside. And unfortunately, firefighters did later discover the body of a man in a hallway and really just heart-wrenchingly, the body of a woman in a bedroom near a window. So certainly indicating that she was trying to get out. This home did have some security bars on it as well. So unclear if that was a hindrance to her getting out, but certainly something that is just terrible to see. That injured man was taken to a hospital for treatment. And again, I mentioned that at least 2 dogs were found in the remnants of the home as well. There's a possibility that there could have been some more pets, but at this time, they're still working on that part of the investigation. At this time, the coroner's office is going to handle identification of these victims, but we can tell you that the man was 28 years old and the female was 38 years old, and we do believe that both were residents of the home. And then our investigation, certainly as you have mentioned as well, is still ongoing and is in collaboration with the St. Mary Parish Sheriff's Office, but at this time, deputies have determined that the fire began in the living room area of this home, and the cause is definitely undetermined. One thing we would like to note, as we do note in many, if not all, of our fatal fire investigations, is that this home did not have working smoke alarms, and we have to emphasize to everyone at all times that a working smoke alarm can be the difference between life and death for you and your family in a fire emergency.
Yeah, certainly, Ashley. I appreciate that. Yeah, look, that's right off the main highway at 182 there. That's right across from the Chaffalaya River there. So it's a busy thoroughfare. Could explain why they had, bars on the windows. But tragic situation. Like I say, 28 and 38 years old, very young. Dr. Eric Melanson is the coroner for St. Mary Parish. So he'll release the names of those victims later on. Part 2 of what we wanted to talk about is, well, the weather. We all been going through this weather for a long time, but we hadn't gotten any rain down, particularly on the southern part of the state. It's been a while, and everybody knows they're trying to, use sprinklers or do what the best they can. But you guys have now put a ban for burning trash or any kind of piles of debris for the entire state, not just parish by parish now.
Right, and it's a very interesting contrast to what the state's used to. We're used to in these times hearing about the north end of the state being so dry and the coastal end being over wet. So it's interesting this year in this situation where that's kind of reverse. However, after about a week and a half of conversing with the fire service across the state and just hearing about whether they have concerns that they're seeing an increase in brush fires or that they're worried that they're going to start seeing an increase in brush fires and really have a concern for the safety of their firefighters and responding to that, it was really an overwhelming response from the fire service across the state to just go ahead and elevate to a statewide burn ban as opposed to just having the parishes make those decisions on their local conditions, which was going on. We were at about 16 parishes that had made that decision, and they were scattered across the state. But overall, we asked, and they told us this is what they wanted. And of course, our firefighters are who we need to listen to. They're the ones that are going to answer the call. So that is what happened yesterday in conjunction with Ag and Forestry Commissioner Mike Strain. Chief Dan Wallace put that state burn ban in effect until. So essentially, just as the trigger for this was the fire service, the pullback on it will also be the fire service when they tell us that they feel like they've gotten a grip in their particular communities and that the temperatures are a little bit more favorable for their firefighters to respond in the event that there is some sort of brush fire. So we're going to let them kind of guide us. And certainly if parishes find themselves, maybe like in mine today, where we have an abundance of rain right now, maybe they find themselves, relieved that they can, of course, opt out of that burn ban if they'd like to. But as you mentioned, this is particular to trash fires, those kind of burn piles when people are cleaning up properties and would prefer to put, tree trunks and branches and bushes and things of that nature into a pile that they just burn throughout the day, just to have that put to bed that way, as opposed to in their trash service or at a particular landfill. So we're asking everybody to just refrain from that open burning, while certainly it's way too hot to be doing that anyway. But also just while the conditions are hot and that there are concerns for firefighters, there are many questions that we do have relative to this as it pertains to what you can do. And so you can still barbecue, and that's okay. Other than that, we would just ask for everybody to be patient and cooperate with the fire service.
Yeah, no fireworks right now, right? And you did say that they can opt out, though? If like, say, a couple of thunderstorms come through, they can get out of it pretty quickly?
Right. So parish governments have the ability to call their own burn bans, and they also have the ability to be pulled out of a statewide burn ban as well. So if they find that the conditions are back to normal and they have many, many individuals who would like to get back to doing their property cleanup with burn piles, then they can go ahead and opt out of being in that statewide envelope.
Yeah, obviously, you know, a lot of times when you're clearing land, you're going to use burns for that, you know, that kind of stuff too. So, Ashley, we sure appreciate the updates from both Bayou Vista and the statewide burn ban. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
All right, hello everyone and welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls. What a great event here in Gray, Louisiana, celebrating CIS's 40 years in existence. What a 40 years it is. I can recall some of the early days that we interviewed many of the doctors at CIS, and it's unbelievable how far they have come in their journey. That journey took them local, regional, nationwide, and worldwide. It's unbelievable where they have come and gone in those 40 years. Joining me now, Dr. Craig Walker, and God, I can remember back 1985 sitting down with you and having these interviews, and your vision was, it was just so spirited, and it still is, but 40 years, going to give a few talks tonight, and the parish president's coming. Just your thought tonight.
Sure. You know, I look at 40 years and I look at the paradox of time. It seems like it was forever, and it seems like it was just yesterday, all at the same time. And, you know, there's so many things like that. Your children, as you watch them grow. But this was a special project, Martin. I left Boston. I returned home. I had dreams and hopes that we could establish a world-class cardiology program. It was a lot of work. It took a lot of dreams, but I think we've done a pretty good job of getting there. I'm so proud of the team we put together. You know, I started this, but the best thing I did was to hire great people and to hire people who were part of a team, many of whom have special expertise, many of whom fill the gaps of things that we didn't have. And with that team, through the years, we have developed a national reputation, in fact, an international reputation. I think we've been able to impact thousands and thousands of lives. And I saw today something which said 30 years from now, the only people who will remember that you worked late and came in early are your children. I think I'm lucky enough to be in a job where that's not true. I believe 30 years from now, many people will be happy that we woke up in the middle of the night to take care of them, that they became part of our families as well, and that we have been able to have an impact. I've loved what I've done. I have people all the time asking me, when will I retire? And I have to tell you, Martin, I've never considered it, ever. I love what I do. This has been a dream come true, bit by bit. Each of those things that we talked about, you and I, 38 years ago, and that I dreamed more than 40 years ago, have come true. And in fact, I would say in many cases, we've been able to go way beyond our dreams. So it's been a wonderful journey.
Not only that, but I think Bevy hit it on the head. I was telling Bevy and some of the younger ones when I was talking with them, I said, y'all don't realize how unique Dr. Craig Walker is. Not only is he a great cardiologist, a great visionary, a great business person, but he's a fantastic speaker. Where did you get that from? Because since you were young, in your younger days when I was interviewing you, when I was young, you have always been an eloquent speaker. Where did it come from?
I don't know. I wanted to be able to communicate. I worked hard on that. Certainly I have a little more Cajun accent than a lot of speakers. I think it was out of necessity. It's the necessity of communicating ideas, working, necessity, because it was always in my DNA to want to teach. It's particularly important right now because My fellow, who's just started this week, is my nephew, McCall, Dr. Herman's son.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've trained hundreds of fellows, but starting this week, my nephew of my dear brother, who had done so much for me in my life and trained me, I'm having the privilege of mentoring his son.
Whereas Craig M. Walker, MD, has impacted the health and lives of thousands of patients in South Louisiana and beyond with this passion for cardiovascular care and limb salvage. And whereas Dr. Walker returned to Houma in 1983 to pursue his life's goal of establishing a world-class cardiovascular program in South Louisiana, now Cardiovascular Institute of the South, celebrating its 40th year, recognized across the world with 20-plus locations. And whereas he is a pioneer in interventional cardiology, particularly in peripheral vascular interventions, for which his techniques and inventions have been cited internationally and transformative, and he served as the principal investigator in the initial stent, atherectomy, and drug-coated balloon trials. And whereas he has trained thousands in advanced peripheral interventional techniques and founded New Cardiovascular Horizons, one of the largest peripheral vascular conferences in the world, to continue education and collaboration among the industry for advancements. And whereas Dr. Walker is appointed as a clinical professor of medicine at Tulane University School of Medicine and Louisiana State University Medical Schools, and serves as the editor of Vascular Disease Management and on the editorial boards of 12 medical journals. And whereas he is a native of Berg, Louisiana, he completed a 4-year pre-medical curriculum in 2 years at Nicholls State University and earned his doctorate in medicine at LSU Medical School in New Orleans. And whereas he completed a 3-year internal medicine residency, served as chief medical resident, and completed a cardiology fellowship at Ochsner Foundation Hospital, where he was one of the first interventional fellows in the U.S. And he performed a research fellowship at Harvard, Brigham, and Women's Hospital in Boston. And whereas Dr. Walker is board certified in internal medicine, cardiovascular disease, and interventional cardiology. And whereas he is a fellow of the American College of Cardiology, American College of Physicians, American Society of Cardiovascular Interventionalists, International College of Angiology, Society of Cardiac Angiography and Interventions, American College of Chest Pain Physicians, and Council on Clinical Cardiology. And whereas he is the first native Louisianian to be chosen as one of 10 outstanding young Americans by the JCs, received the Healthcare Hero Award by New Orleans City Business, the James Buquet Award by the Terrebonne Foundation of Academic Excellence, and an honorary doctorate of nursing from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and was one of the initial 4 inductees into the Nicholls State University Hall of Fame. And now, therefore, it be proclaimed by Parish President Gordy Dove. President.
Sit. Motion, sir. Beautiful flag. Thank you very much.
Don't go too far. All right, thank you, President Dove. But I'd also like to present Dr. Walker with a special gift from the CIS team. It's a timeline signed by our physicians and shareholders and several others throughout the organization. So if you look right behind you, Chief, we have actually a special poster that was designed with the timeline, as well as our shareholders, and many of the docs across the company were able to sign for you. Figured it would be a great memoir for the 40th anniversary. And with that, Dr. Craig Walker.
I cannot tell you how humbled I am to have the friends here, the people with whom I work, the people who shared a dream and really worked very tirelessly to get to where we are. It is a very lonely position sometimes when you're in the middle of the night and someone is dying in your hands and you cannot save them. Luckily for us, that's not often, but it does occur. And it adds a certain humility that people cannot understand, because one can become the best in the world at what you do. Yet when you work like we work, there will be some bad outcomes. It's unfortunate, but it is the profession that we chose. But to counterbalance that, we have what I had this week. I counted 15 people from the old blue building. I'm getting back to that story. We moved out of that blue building in 1986. 1986. Bill, I'm sure you remember it, as we moved into the new building. We worked all weekend, night and day, to get into the new building. But I saw that many people who we saw then with heart attacks, with strokes, with arrhythmias, with big problems, who are still alive today, who are still functional today, who still remember those days. And every week, we have that ability to see those people. So I think if you were to really get down and ask Bill why he's not going to retire, and I can tell you if you ask me that, the reason is those patients are also our family. Those patients hold us in their prayers. Those patients bring us crabs, they bring us shrimp, they bring us food, but mostly what they do is they bring us love. And it's something that certainly means a lot to each and every one of us. So if you think these first 40 years were something, I can't wait to see the next 40 years. Unfortunately, it's highly improbable I will. But our plan for success is far beyond our personal ends. It's a plan to keep this going, to keep it improving, and to follow a proven template to achieve better. So I thank you very much for coming out here tonight, for supporting us, for letting us be part of this community, and for all the service that each of you have and will ultimately provide. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. So before we close, just again, there's a couple of different organizations. I want to thank, I saw Synergy was here, Synergy Bank, I want to say thank you. Saw Phyllis and the group from Terrebonne General. Congratulations, I see him talking, but Kevin, congrats on the new role. Thank you. Also, Fletcher Community College, and without y'all, we'd definitely be in a bind. So with that, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the evening, enjoy some food, enjoy some drinks, and have a great one. Appreciate you.
All right, there you have it from Gray, Louisiana. An unbelievable evening here celebrating 40 years, not only of just professional service to the community, but what an economic impact they have made across this great community. They have grown leaps and bounds. I'm always scared to give a number to you because it grows the very following week. So we have certainly appreciated what CIS and all the pioneers have done throughout the years and how they've grown and how they've supported this area. On behalf of the crew at HTV and all of our team, we appreciate CIS and enjoyed very much covering these festivities here in Gray, Louisiana. Congratulations, CIS, on 40 years. This is around 70 stores. Can you imagine that based out of Houma? We have 70 stores. Of course, they're all over the place, but what an economic impact this has. It's unbelievable. And a lot of people got their start at Rouse's. When I was going to college, I used to deliver beer for Budweiser, for Buquet Distributing, at Sea Rose, which was on this same plot of land. So history, it's unbelievable. But I think we have to acknowledge the Rouse family for what they've done and what they continue to do. You know, they could go a whole lot of different routes, but they chose to do it here. And I think the first one I want to call up before we introduce some guests is Mr. Donald Rouse, because he deserves a big round of applause, and he's going to say a few words. Donald, incredible job. Incredible job.
Good morning. Thank y'all very much for coming out. And as Martin was saying, my father opened the first store right here at AutoZone in 1960, and we bought Piggly Wiggly, and then we built this store in '89, and now here we are building a new store right where we started the business, and it's such a great feeling. And I know my dad's looking down, smiling today. I want to say that my family is not just me, it's our whole team, for sure. I do the littlest part of it. My nephew Blake and Allie and Nick and Chris are all a part of the family, and they're a big part of the business as well. Did I forget somebody? No? Oh, Jason, Martin Olich. My son-in-law, naturally I'd forget him, huh? Okay. All right, well, thank y'all very much for coming, and I appreciate the business. I appreciate y'all's support, and we look forward to many more years of serving the community. Martin?
Come on, give him a big round of applause. And look, I have an excuse for being in warm-ups. I'm dressing like a chicken in about 30 minutes, and everybody gets a chance to cluck like a chicken. You can win $500, $250, or $100. And I got to apologize to Tim Acosta the other day on TV. He did a rooster call, and I said, that's not a chicken. Well, I looked it up this morning. A rooster is a chicken. So a rooster call is eligible to win. So if you got a good rooster call, we're ready for you. So, all right. We're going to get Mr. Gordy Dove, our parish president. He's going to say a few words, and he can introduce a few of the dignitaries here today. Give it up for Gordy.
What a beautiful day. Thank goodness we have clouds in the sky with this heat we've been having lately. And, you know, what a great day for Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana, and, of course, the Rouse family. Huge employers in Terrebonne Parish. What an economic stimulant for Terrebonne Parish. And I believe this is, like Boyd said, they're going up to about 70 stores, a 55,000 square foot grocery supermarket here. And it's just an honor to see that in Terrebonne Parish. They also, a couple of years back, they opened up their big distribution center right off of 311, that they bought the building and they've been remodeling it and running out of there. In fact, we have a Valhalla extension will actually go up to Rouse's Drive from Savannah Road. We actually on the engineering of that as we speak. If you look off here, you see a crane driving pilings back there, steel and concrete pilings. We're doing a big drainage system in this area, paid for by the people of Terrebonne Parish. So a lot of things happening in Terrebonne. I'd like to go ahead and announce with Garrett Graves' office, we have Kristen Bergeron, we have Representative Beryl Amity, State Senator Mike Feasey, Parish Councilman Darren Guidry, Sheriff Tim Saunier, Councilwoman, Council Chairperson, Jessica Domingue, and did I miss anyone? Did I get everyone? Well, there again, I just want to thank everyone for coming. What a great crowd. What a beautiful day. It's an honor to be your parish president. On behalf of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, we support any and all businesses in Terrebonne Parish and love to see expansion growth like this. And with that, let's hear a round of applause for the Rouse's family, their staff and employees. What a great group of people. And with that, I'll go ahead and introduce Mr. Donnie Rouse, who's going to say a few words. Donnie, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I know I screwed up big time this time. I forgot to mention Donnie, my son, and my brother-in-law, Tim. But most importantly, Donnie, he does a great job. He took over. I took over from my father, and he took over from me. And I'm sorry about that.
Great crowd this morning. Thank you all, especially everyone who's been in line this morning. I'm glad the weather's a little bit cooler for you, but we have some great things happening in the stores. You know, we brought back Boar's Head, which we're happy about. You know, I know our customers have been asking for that, so we're happy to roll that out through all our company here over the next few months. Again, like my dad had mentioned, our fourth store in this area. You know, when we built this superstore here in '89, best store in Terrebonne Parish. We opened up our Epicurean on St. Charles Street on the other side of Houma in early 2000s. Best store in Terrebonne Parish, and now we outdid it again. I mean, this is going to be our best store in the company for Rouse's, which is, you know, we're in Louisiana, we're in Mississippi, and we're in Alabama. Definitely want to thank all our employees and our team members, our new team members, our team members that have been employed with us for a long time. Our store manager here, Mr. Grayling Kramer. Mr. Grayling Kramer, our store manager, he was store manager at store number 1 in Thibodaux, right across the street from where I grew up. And for him to be here, have the opportunity to open up the flagship store for Rouse's is an awesome accomplishment to his career and to his team that he has hired to service all our customers. So again, thank you everyone that came out today. We're excited, and we hope to make Terrebonne Parish proud.
All right. I'm going to tell you about a little bet we have after this, but right now this is important stuff. Reverend Joey and Bishop Dorsonville, come on up here. Here we go. What would a Rouse's store be without a blessing, right? And Reverend Joey is going to introduce our new bishop to the area. Without further ado, give it up for Father Joey. Come on.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to introduce our bishop, Bishop Mario Dorsonville. He is watching over all of us, and he'd like to say a few words.
Thank you. Good morning. Father Joey, thank you so much. When I heard that you were about to bless the new market, said, I'm not going to take his place. Let him do what he's scheduled to do. For me, it is a joy and a blessing to be with all of you and with the Rouse's family. I have been inspired not only by what they have done through the years, but also how the business can help others, creates jobs, help the poor, help the needy, the hungry. And I really am moved with much love and prayer for this new endeavor, because we know by shopping here, we are not only helping ourselves, but helping others. And I really think that that's a blessing. For me, it is a joy as well to be with all of you as your new bishop. And what a great priests we have. I really think Father Joey is doing a tremendous work, and your presence here, Father, among us is also a show that you care. You care for the flock, you care for the people who are little by little building the life of others. May the Lord continue to bless you. And saying that, Mr. Donald Rouse's congratulations. I know that you are the engine of the whole movement, and of course, you wouldn't do much without your son Danny. Therefore, for both of you, a very, very important blessing, and for the whole Rouse's family. God bless you. Thank you.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. May the grace and the peace of God our Father, the source of all blessings, be with all of you. The work we are beginning today should enliven our faith and make us grateful. We know the familiar words of the psalm, if the Lord does not build the house, in vain do its builders labor. Whenever we look to the interests of our neighbor and the community and serve them, we are, in a sense, God's own co-workers. Let us pray for his help through this celebration. And my brothers and sisters, that God will bring this construction to successful completion and that his protection will keep those who work on it safe from injury and harm. So let us pray. All-powerful and all-merciful Father, you have created all things through your Son and have made him the unshakable foundation of your kingdom. Through the gift of your eternal wisdom, grant that the undertaking that has begun for your glory and our own well-being, make progress day by day to a successful completion. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you. Please answer amen to the following blessings. May the Lord Almighty bless you and kindly receive the desire of your hearts. Amen. May the Lord give you trust in him so that you will do all things in his name. Amen. And may the Lord regard your work with kindness and watch over your lives. Amen. May Almighty God bless the store, bless your efforts, and bless all those who enter here. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Father Joey. All right, we're going to prepare for the ribbon cutting. But before we do that, while we have the cameras here, we have HTV, we have Fox 8, we have several other cameras, we have drones. I just thought it would be a good time to just warm up real quick on 3, 2, 1. Everybody, give me your chicken call or your rooster call. Now, Bishop, they told me if I got you to do a chicken call, I would get a $500 gift certificate to Rouse it. So, Bishop, come up here and help me real quick. Morrissey? Now, Bishop, I'll make a deal with you. I'll split it with you. $250 for me and $250 for the diocese. How about that?
What about 300, 200?
All right, give me a bet. On 3, 2, 1, we're going to do a chicken call. 3, 2, 1.
You know, that's new for me.
Just one $1, Bishop.
Okay.
$500. Yeah. All right. Are the pyromaniacs ready in the front? Y'all ready? Marcia, we're going to do our ribbon cutting? Okay, let's get everybody in place. Ron, this is who we got to get. Donnie. And also up here for the ribbon cutting, we have Sheriff Tim Saunier. I see him. Raise your hand, Sheriff. We have Police Chief Travis Terrio. We have Jerome Barkin, head of the NAACP. Jerome, raise your hand. There you go. And we'll get to the others after. Let's do the ribbon cutting.
3, 2, 1.
All right, and welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls. Very pleased to have with us Mr. Bill Barbera. You've seen him recently on the one-on-one program. He's with the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux. He's the Chief Operating and Financial Officer at the diocese. And Bill, good to see you. How are you?
Good, Martin. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So a lot of things happening at the diocese. First of all, just to set the tone, which we don't have to set the tone too much. We had COVID for years. We had Hurricane Ida, and the area still real, and we're still repairing. We're still repairing things around here. Downtown still repairing. I'm sure y'all are still repairing schools and different things. Absolutely. But bring us up to speed. Why don't we talk first about the hurricane recovery loan and bring us up to speed on that and go into detail if you would.
Sure, absolutely. Again, thank you for having me. We are, as everyone knows, about 2 years out from the landfall of Ida. And with Ida, we had approximately $150 million in damage across our diocese. Certainly a catastrophic event for our area and in particular our diocese. We have as many commercial insurance policies, various limits, and one of those being the wind-related limits. So we had right at a $50 million wind limit, and we exceeded that by at least $100 million. So we had to figure out how we were going to cover that additional expense. And certainly FEMA is the answer for that. But the way FEMA works is on a reimbursement basis. So we had to fund that repair, if you will, and then file all the appropriate documentation with FEMA to then get reimbursed for the amount that they would reimburse us and for the projects that they would cover. And so really by happenstance, I was watching a live feed of the Lafourche Parish School Board meeting and saw some folks I knew there dealing with the same issue of funding the FEMA rebuild and something they were considering, and immediately got in touch with a local attorney here, Rick Boutery from Thibodeau, who's a good friend of mine, and he was, as a member of the school board, now involved with helping them work out that situation. So the Hurricane Recovery Loan, as it's termed, is a product that was developed within the municipal financing market, the bond market, to do just that, to facilitate the funding we needed to rebuild and repair our facilities, and then go through the process of filing with FEMA and then to get reimbursed. There's no encumbrance of our property. There's no mortgages or anything like that. It's secured strictly by the guarantees or the reimbursement of FEMA funds coming back to pay off that debt, if you will. So it was something we were very interested in, and we went through the processes. It's an application through the public financing sector that includes the Louisiana Community Development Authority as the sponsor. It gets approved by the State Bond Commission. We went through those hurdles earlier in the year, and then got to a point where in August, beginning of August 8th, we closed on the first distribution of that. We received approval for up to $95 million. So we did our first issue at $32 million, which is going to carry us for some time, and then we'll work through from there.
But, most of the time when people are dealing with bonding agencies or bonding rep, it's pretty tedious work. But the diocese, for the most part, at least the Diocese of Houma Thibodeau, probably had a little easier time because y'all do business in pretty good fashion.
We do. We have really solid financials that support the lenders in making that decision. We engage some really smart people in that bond arena that were willing to help us. They gave us some very favorable treatment in terms of fees and so forth that are associated with that, and we have financing now that helps us to rebuild and put things back together.
But real quick, we got about a minute and a half left on this segment. When you went into $150 million damage and you were secured for $50 million, who would have ever thought that you would reach $150 million damage occurrence?
Hence, people ask that question, well, you didn't have enough insurance. Well, one, we couldn't afford to pay for a wind limit that would cover $150 million. But
we're really self-insuring.
Yeah. Historically, we've never experienced that. As everyone knows in this area, we never experienced that level of catastrophic damage. Never thought we would need quite that much.
Yeah, as most people who are reconsidering how they insure, but you're right, you never would have thought an Ida. I don't know how it's still a 4. It's going to be a 5 eventually. History will show it a 5. It's unprecedented. Let's take a short break. We're going to come right back with Bill Barbera. We'll talk about a few other things, and we'll bring you up to speed. While I have him up here, let's utilize this time so we can get you some information on the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux. Don't go away. And we are back. We're talking with the Chief Financial Officer of the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux, Bill Barbera. And Bill, we left it on some of the things happening with the claims and the $150 million damage that y'all incurred during Hurricane Ida. Let's sort of shift gears a little bit, because still got to have a diocese, still got to have priests, still got to have mass, still got to have a bishop coming in. And we failed to mention, with COVID and Hurricane Ida, of course, Lonnie's in the studio here, we broadcast Bishop Dorsonville came down, so y'all had a bishop, a new bishop come in. So like your plate wasn't full enough, but let's talk about the schools. How's the rebuilding of the schools? And let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, thankfully, we had some pretty major disruption with some of our schools. Vanderbilt having to platoon over at E.D. White for some time till we could get that facility back in order. St. Gregory had to relocate for the entire school year down in the Berg community at a building at St. Anne's. Everyone's back on their campuses. We've got a lot of work going on still on those campuses. Vanderbilt had the most substantial damage, but we've gotten most of the roof work done there and beginning to work on the interior. So that we thought might cause some disruption, may hurt enrollment as we moved into this school year, but our people are really dedicated to and faithful to our Catholic education in the diocese, and I'm pleased to say that our enrollment is up this year over the last 4 years. So we're seeing a real commitment to Catholic education in our diocese, and very thankful for the support of our parents in doing that.
And I don't know how y'all pulled it off, but y'all got 2 rivals to go to school together, Vanderbilt and E.D. White. So a little bonding that took place.
Well, we made sure they weren't there at the same time, so, but that worked out great. I mean, we are one diocese, and it was actually, as we were sitting back trying to figure out what we were going to do, it was the 2 presidents that came together and said, well, how about if we platoon the 2 schools and do that? So they were very instrumental, and, extremely thankful to the faculty and staff of both schools at making that work. It was in place, I think, for about 6 or 7 weeks. And we were able to get Vanderbilt back onto their campus, which was a blessing.
So I always said that rivalry has been overrated, because as I cover all of the schools with HTV, they're all cut out of the same mode. They all have the same type of parenting. So once they all get together, they find out they like each other.
It's amazing. My kids, my kids went to E.D. White growing up in Thibodaux, and some of their best friends in college were Vanderbilt guys, so.
I remember seeing Blake McDonald and Aaron Pico and all them at Lenny Ford. I'm going, y'all not too bad.
Yeah.
In high school, we thought different.
Oh, that's right.
So with that said, Bishop Dorsonville, by the way, who pretty good negotiator, he got $300 out of the $500 gift card, which I'm going to have to send back with y'all. So he's pretty good negotiator. How's he working out?
He's doing great. He's settling in really, really well. We were concerned about how he would settle in culturally, coming large metropolitan areas all of his life and moving into the country. And we know that our culture is very different from Washington or Columbia and those things, but he's adapted very well. He loves the area. I tell you, he works extremely hard. He's in the office, meeting after meeting after meeting all day long, and then he's out and about on the weekends and many nights during the week. So he's hardworking. He hit the ground running, and we're learning to adapt to him and him to us, and it's working.
I was
out well.
impressed because he was at the Rouse's groundbreaking. I was emceeing it. Of course, Father Joy was there, and when the bishop showed up, everybody said, "Oh, the bishop will give the blessing." He got up there and said, "Nope, Father Joy is supposed to give the blessing. He's going to give the blessing, and I'm going to just be here with the flock."
Yeah,
he handles that pretty good.
He does. He does. He's very personable. People that, especially in a one-on-one situation, really enjoy and come away feeling really good about their relationship with him and doing that. And he's a real joy to be around.
He's had 3 recent ordinations. So as a bishop, you got to feel pretty good that you get in ordinations.
That's exciting. Everyone knows we've dealt with a shortage of priests for many years, and Father Mitch in our vocations area is just working really hard to cultivate and get new priests and to start seeing these guys come out of the seminary and to be ordained and basically to go to work in our diocese. It's really exciting. We had 3 this year and 3 wonderful men that we're excited to see get deeply entrenched in our diocese.
And just with a minute and 30 left in this segment, we're going to jump to Second Harvest on the last segment. How is the adjustment? You get used to a bishop who's now an archbishop, and then a new bishop comes in. Well, what is the curve? About 6 months to get to know somebody?
I would say 6 months is probably, everyone, not just these 2 bishops, but everyone has a different way of managing and operating their office structure and so forth. So we've got a very engaged leadership team that's present in the office. We'll meet every Wednesday with our vicar generals and really just to kind of keep the place moving along and moving forward, and we're settling in very well.
Where's Father PJ? Is he still around?
He's playing. He's back in retirement, and he's, I think, counting the days till he can one day move back home. So we'll see how that works out.
Well, good. Tell him we all said hello.
He continues to be very supportive of everything that we do.
No doubt. He was a joy to have.
Absolutely.
We'll take another short break here with Bill Barbera. We're going to talk about the Second Harvest Food Bank. When we come back, a very important endeavor. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls, and I'm with Mr. Bill Barbera. He's the Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer for the Diocese of Houma. Let's jump into the Second Harvest Food Bank, because I know y'all are excited about this, and there's a nice large piece of land around Vanderbilt Catholic High School that is being prepped and ready to go. Take us up to speed on that.
Sure. So the diocese acquired that property as a warehouse facility, really with the intentions of expanding our ability for disaster relief purposes to have proper warehouse facilities. And it was just going to take a lot of money and effort to do that, and we just hadn't gotten to that point. And we're approached probably in excess of a year ago by Second Harvest to partner with them and basically offer a distribution center for Second Harvest with our Catholic Charities food bank system located here in Terrebonne Parish. That facility, it's a 17,000 square foot facility that is going to undergo about a $5 million renovation, which will increase Second Harvest capacity to serve the over 50 agencies they service in the tri-parish area. That's food banks, that's food kitchens, it's food pantries, includes the food banks that our Catholic Charities operates in the parishes of Lafourche and Terrebonne. But it'll just simply increase the capacity they have to deliver and transport food items to those 50 agencies around our tri-parish area, to the point that they estimate it'll probably increase their capacity to distribute over 1 million more meals a year in this area, where they were making 2 trips a day. They can now accommodate having maybe twice that capacity out of a more local, centralized facility.
How does a marriage like that take place? I mean, obviously, both institutions sort of know what the other one's doing, but at one point, it's got to be, hey, I have an idea. How did it all take place?
I think it kind of came across in just some general conversations about we're looking for a place. We were already one of the supported agencies. Our food banks had a good working relationship with Second Harvest, and our close connectivity with the Archdiocese, which Second Harvest does in New Orleans. So through those conversations, they were looking for a place. We were looking to increase some capacity to our facilities, and we had a place, and they had the know-how and the ability to do it. So we said, let's co-brand this and pull it together, and let's make this happen. And it's come to fruition now.
How do y'all handle all these big endeavors? Because this alone is a big endeavor to get food in, and just I guess the logistics of trying to make this happen can be massive. It takes special people to do it, doesn't it?
It really does, and that's where Second Harvest comes into play. They know how to do it. They've been doing it for many years. They service, I think it's 26 or 27 parishes in South Louisiana. So really the entirety of the footprint, and possibly into Mississippi, I'm not sure, but it's about 26, 27 parishes that they service. So they have the know-how and the logistics and the technology in place to move massive amounts of food and dry items, and know how to store them and how to distribute them.
And just to give y'all a little feather in your cap as a diocese, I know a lot of times people in our viewing area, they all assume or take for granted, oh, the diocese will take care of that. But behind the scenes is a tremendous amount of work, a tremendous amount of, like you said, the bishops meeting all the time, every day. So are you, so is Lonnie, so is Amy, so is everybody.
Absolutely.
And to keep that logistically running, and to keep, I guess, the overall mission of the Catholic Church in focus while doing the business that's a job.
It is very much so, and it just takes a lot of good people. I mean, we can have all big ideas at a management level, but it takes the folks that are on the ground every day working in the food banks, working in Catholic Charities, and out in the parishes and the schools to really make it all happen.
So real quick, when you're walking down the aisle, do you bring it to the bishop, or does the bishop walk down the aisle and jump in your office and say, I want you to do this?
It's
both ways.
It does. It's a combination of the two. He again, his involvement in the diocese, all over the diocese, he hears a lot, and people communicate a lot of things to him, and he'll bring those back to us and say, hey, we need to look into this, and vice versa. We'll get contacted and say, Bishop, this is something we need to spend some time on, and he gives us the ability to do that.
All right, Bill, we appreciate you being here. Send us some pictures. Let us see the development of it all.
We do have a grand opening, groundbreaking. I think it's referred to. I'm trying to remember the date. Excuse me. August 29th.
Okay.
August 29th at 10:30. They're at the facility on Hollywood Road. So
the old Frostout building.
The old.
You don't have any old Frostout burgers laying around.
No, but it'd be nice to just have a mug of cold Frostout root beer.
Well, you're right about it. With that vanilla taste there.
That's right.
All right, Bill. Good seeing you again, and good luck. And tell Bishop Dorsonville we all said hello.
I will. Thank you, Martin.
All right. Bill Barbera once again with the Diocese of Houma Thibodeau with Lonnie Thibodeau right in the studio. We'll take a break here. We'll have a lot more here on HTV. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. Standing by, we have members of the Lafourche District Attorney's Office. We have Jason Chatinier, Assistant District Attorney. There you see him, and Sean George, Assistant District Attorney. A big case in Thibodeau last week. Jason, if we could bring up the pictures. 3 beautiful young ladies in Lafourche Parish that were killed by a drunk driver. The case was highlighted last week. Thibodeau man was convicted by a 6-person jury of 2 counts of vehicular homicide and 1 count of negligent homicide after a 4-day trial. And District Attorney Christine Russell and her crew getting the conviction in Thibodeau. So, Jason and Sean, if I could, let's start off with just something off the beaten path. How tough is it to prosecute a case like this when you're looking at the pictures, life taken so early with 3 beautiful young ladies? It's got to be tough, and it's got to be mentally fatiguing.
Well, I'll tell you, Martin, and Sean has the same situation. We're fathers. We have children. We have daughters ourselves. So that part of it is always difficult. My approach, and it's what I said in my closing argument, and it's really appropriate because it's the law. These cases, although they deal with emotion, they deal with sympathy. Who can't empathize with someone who's lost their kids in a tragedy? But the jury, I believe, was able to set that aside. In fact, I know they set that aside. And render a verdict that was just based on the evidence and the facts that were presented in that courtroom. And so you can't help but to sympathize with the families who lost their daughters, their loved ones, in which should have been kind of the beginning of their college careers and the rest of their lives. But at the end of the day, the jury was able to look at the case based on the facts and the evidence and render a just verdict based on that, and not just the extreme tragedy or sympathy for those lives lost in that tragedy.
Sean, could you go a little bit more into detail about the fact that Joey Claymore, and look, there's so many people that are going to watch this news story and they're going to say, man, I escaped this similar situation years ago. I was drunk coming back from a ballroom. But there's a lot of people that this could happen to on many occasions, and this is just an example of what can happen.
And this is why, since we're kids, we have the advice of don't drink and drive, and that follows us through. And he made some very active decisions throughout the course of that night that led him on the roadway that caused this tragic accident. So it's never the right place or the right time to drink and drive, especially to the extent that he was. He shouldn't have been walking, much less operating a vehicle.
You're right. There's many situations where somebody may have offered him help. Can you give us some of the particulars of where he could have maybe done the right thing but did the wrong thing leading to this?
In his statements to state police, he stated he got off of work around 4:40 in Geismar, and he should have just gone home there and called it a night. It's not a drinking problem. It's a driving problem. If he had that problem, he could have stayed in and drank all he wanted. He chose to, instead of going home and spending the night, to go out to a bar and get completely intoxicated and get behind the wheel.
So let me ask you, and I want to go back to the situation. What was his blood alcohol level, and can you give us a little bit on that particular information?
Sure. So he was the accident happened around 12:21 a.m. He was then taken into custody by Louisiana State Police. They got a warrant for his blood, as is Louisiana law. His blood was drawn at 3:28, so 3 hours, 7 minutes later. The blood at 3:28 in the morning, mind you, 3 hours post crash, was 0.168, double the legal limit. We retained Dr. George, William George, a renowned toxicologist from Tulane, and he did his retrograde calculations and opined that the blood alcohol concentration at the time of the crash would have been around 0.22, almost 3 times the legal limit. So completely intoxicated, like I said, should have never been behind the wheel.
And I would like to add also, what was presented to the jury was he also had amphetamines, Adderall specifically, in his system, and Zoloft, which is not a controlled dangerous substance. And Dr. George's testimony was able to establish that not only was he intoxicated from alcohol, but the combination of those drugs, in addition to the alcohol, affected like his reaction time, his ability to his vision acuity, his inhibitions, right? Those inhibitions are things that prevent us from doing the dumb stuff, prevent us from doing 90 plus miles an hour on a 2-lane road at midnight. All those things he was impacted by the intoxication, and that's why he took the chances he did and made the decisions that he did. And that was the case that was presented, the facts and evidence that were presented to the jury. So it wasn't just an alcohol intoxication. He was also under the influence of additional amphetamine and sertraline, which is Zoloft.
And I think y'all summed it up greatly. You said if you've had one sip of alcohol, don't drive. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Thank y'all for what y'all are doing to make sure that other people get the message. We appreciate what you guys and what Ms. Russell did to get the awareness out. Thank y'all so much for joining us.
For having us.
Thank you, Morton.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll be right back. It's a quiet day here on the Bubba Dove, August 29th, 2023. However, 2 short years ago, same date, different time, all hell was breaking loose in Terrebonne Parish. What we've learned on these floodgates is that a reverse head can cause havoc on the system and put Houma in harm's way. What have we learned from Hurricane Zeta and Hurricane Ida concerning a reverse flow of water on this floodgate? All right, Tony, let's start with you. Naturally, 2 years since Hurricane Ida. God, we learned so much from Ida, but we can go back to Zeta and start talking about what we learned. We've learned from every storm, I should say, but we learned about reverse heads from Zeta and Ida. But we're standing on the Bubba Dove. Just talk in general about how far we've come as a parish with flood control. I was telling y'all I interviewed Donald Landry in 1984. He was talking about saltwater intrusion. He was talking about sea level rise. He was talking about so many different things that affect us in this area. Yep. We've come a long way, haven't we?
we've come a long way, Mark. You know, we've learned a lot in the process. You know, all these different floodgates that we have in place right now. You know, I think we've learned, you know, how to close them and when to close them, right? The hydrology has changed completely since we started putting this levee system in and putting these floodgates in place. And who would ever thought that we would have almost a 9-foot surge on the inside of the system? Lake Boudreaux moving over to the corner over there by Petit Caillou. And of course, this floodgate was damaged. Petit Caillou was damaged. We have them repaired, and we're prepared for the next storm. You know, we're, you know, just touching this up. We're going to 15 foot on all the levees that we're at 12 right now, roughly, and we're going to 15 right now. We're also trying to finish the west end of the project around Miners Canal, and we're working hard to get that done. We're working with the Corps on that right now, and I don't think I'm going to get into all the particulars with that, but it looks like we're making a lot of headway. We're completing this project.
Mr. Dove, you're holding the Houma Navigation Canal Lock. Before we talk about that, if I could sort of spin off what Tony was saying, and I know you as a parish president have always said, no parish president's going to be perfect. You got to learn from some of the things that happen. Every storm teaches us something different. So when we go back to Lake Boudreaux and some of the events that happened there, y'all have things in progress that's going to knock down some of that water coming in, probably as much as 5 or 6 feet. Is that correct?
Yeah, Martin, and remember this. In 2019, when Hurricane Barry came in from the south, it pushed 9 foot of water against our system. 9 foot of water. The same thing with Rita that flooded 11,000 homes. With Rita, flooded only 11 homes with Hurricane Barry. But then came Ida 2 years ago and had a reverse head and created its own waves and tidal surge within our system and actually pushed the Bubba Dove Gate 70 feet out, 100 feet out. And so that we learned a lesson. We didn't cost the Corps has taken steps to alleviate that. And the one thing about the lock system is we're out for bids right now for this $300 million lock system, which we started 11 years ago, designed, put the money together. And as you know, this is BP fine money, had to go through the U.S. Treasury and the Restore Act. And with this, you would just open this lock system and let the reverse head out. So this gate was designed with the intent of working with this lock system. Who would have ever dreamed we'd get we were clocking winds of 185 miles an hour coming from the north, and so you learn like a 9-foot surge from the south is really not a big problem for us anymore. And then we learned that we had a new problem. It called a reverse head, but everything's in place. The EOC, look, I want to give a shout out to my staff, all my department heads. They all got together, the levee board, the federal agencies, the state agencies, out of the EOC was really, really coordination, and it all came together for Ida, and that's what everyone trained for.
The guys who spend the nights on these floodgates and operate them, Greg Gautreaux and his staff, the operations director of the levee district, they spent countless hours. This is a massive system, 14 floodgates and about 85 of these environmental sluice gates that all have to be closed when you have a tropical system. When you do it, and all of that in 24 hours, that's close to a miracle. So they've got it down pat, and Greg and we've taken his knowledge and put it in our emergency plan. But these are the operations division of the levee district and public works at the parish government. That's who's really out there turning the valves and doing and operating all these systems for us. So I want to thank y'all very much. I think this has been a fantastic thing we've done here in this parish, and we just need to keep moving forward.
I don't know, you got a few people behind us over here that prepared all these and continue to prepare. And I know Angela and Trey and everybody else do did a great job. So you're right. There's a lot of people behind the scenes, and also thanks to the people for putting faith.
That's right.
Putting faith in you. They had to give you all the taxes.
And confidence.
Yeah. All right.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. We always love to bring you breaking news when we get it. Most everybody has noticed the smoke that has been in and around the northern part of our parish. Very glad to have with us some of the people that have been on the scene, taking care of everything that we need through our wonderful fire departments here. We have Brian Boudreau, Assistant Chief. Thank you for joining us, Brian. Appreciate it. All right, sitting next to him is Mike Palmer, who is the Fire Prevention Chief. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, of course, both of you guys with Bayou Cane, but you guys got a chance to meet with Earl Hughes, right, in Office of Homeland Security. Tell us a little bit about that briefing this morning.
Yes, sir. So anytime we have an event like this, we tend to activate things on the parish level and start getting agencies involved early. And kind of started yesterday with Earl Hughes and EOC.
Right.
Starting coordinating for us, which is always a big help. Every agency we can imagine locally and statewide has gotten involved. Fire Marshal's Office, Troop C, parish government obviously has been a big help as well. So we're continuing daily briefings right now as this event continues to make sure we got good open communication.
We appreciate that. And Mike, one of the things y'all also do is coordinate with other fire departments, right?
Yes, we last night we couldn't have done it without Bayou Blue Fire Department, Bayou Black Fire Department, Schriever Fire Department. We all teamed together, along with the sheriff's office, who sent out their drone cameras to help us get footage, so we knew where we were looking and what we needed to fight.
Right, and one of those things we kind of want to walk everybody through. We want to kind of take them through some of the pictures that we have. So Aaron, start that for me if you don't mind. This is kind of the first shots early in the afternoon yesterday that we saw with the fire, right?
Yes, sir. So yesterday's when it really kind of shifted direction and kicked off into a bigger event than what we had the day before.
Okay, right. And so we saw the event, and then it got this. And again, this is a shot. This is some thermal information as well, right?
Yes, sir. We're very fortunate. Sheriff Saunier has kind of put on loan to us his drone team that flies and does reconnaissance. So we've been able to get really good surveillance. Their FLIR shows us, obviously in here, spots of fire where things are hot, burning, and gives us an idea of what may become a threat in the future.
Right, gotcha. And again, same shot to the right. This one is, you said, near the levees, right?
Yes, sir. So this fire started towards the 311 side, which we'll see, I think, in the next photos too.
Right.
And kind of grew and developed towards the Highway 24 side of it.
Okay.
And where we were last night was at 24 side on the levees, where we started actively fighting this fire.
Right, gotcha. And so give us a little description of this. And I know you were telling me what the specifics are about where the delineation points are. Tell us a little bit about this map.
Yes, sir. So we're looking at center of the map here is the area we're dealing with, all the marshland. And this fire started near that Ellsworth 311 side.
Right.
And that was day before yesterday. What we had was a shift in wind direction and a little pickup in wind that started moving it towards that Highway 24 side, which is where we had to get more involved. And on that back side there is a levee that runs that entire Highway 90 to Savannah Road.
Right.
So yesterday we're actively fighting fire on the levee, and thankfully, as of this morning, about center of your image there is a green line. That's the power lines that run for energy. We've got that fire contained on that upper portion of that. Wonderful. It hasn't crossed over towards that Savannah Road side yet. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. Appreciate that. So this is a shot from HTV, so thank you to Wayne for getting that. But interestingly enough, we see this as far away from HTV, but you had a different perspective coming in.
I had a little bit different perspective. I had a class I had to take in St. Charles Parish yesterday, and on the way in to work, obviously getting called in, coming into an event. Hitting Highway 90, was able to see smoke conditions from that area there, so knew we were coming into something more than it's just a little marsh fire.
Right, right. And again, these are shots from different places. This is a shot looking at the new Rouses, which opened last week, and you can see the fire burning behind it. And again, we just showed the demographic map of where that was. And we want to thank Rouses as well as some of the other people that really made some donations. Always love that Ichiban was one of those. They made some donations out to to all of those wonderful firefighters making a difference, risking their lives to make sure that we're safe. And so Rouse's as well did something, and we got information that CIS was also part of making donations. And so we appreciate that very, very much. Gentlemen, we have a couple of minutes left. I also want to be able to show some aerial footage that we got from a plane. So Aaron, run that if you don't mind, please, and walk us through this.
So if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of earlier on in the day yesterday, and what we're seeing is that growth, and you can see just here how much smoke we deal with these fires,
right, from
the vegetation and the undergrowth. And this nighttime footage here is actually when we're on the levees having to deal with this and fight this fire. The good thing is with the levee system and the canal system there, at no time were any homes endangered. We're able to keep a good stop on it and stay in front of it. But that's live image of what we're dealing with last night in order to protect that community and from Highway 90 basically all the way to that Rouse's.
Wow. And again, some great footage. And so we're very thankful to be able to have that. For those of us, when we saw that wind shift and the information that came through as those winds shifted, kind of felt like those things and that smoke was coming near us. It was not. So it's good to know that those things were protected because of the water, because of the levees, but most importantly, because of you, your teams, and the combination of teams with other volunteer fire departments really making a difference that we appreciate very, very much. And so with that smoke, that also kind of brings us up to communication in the community, right?
Yeah, it's important to note no structures were ever threatened.
Right.
But the smoke is going to continue to be an issue.
Right.
And it's going to go with the wind shifts.
Right.
We've also spent some time with the high school, H.L. Bourgeois,
right,
Evergreen. I met with the principals personally to develop a plan, make sure they know what to do if the smoke does shift their way again.
Right.
So right now, the wind's moving from the east to the west, so the smoke's moving away from the schools at this point.
Very good. Well, Assistant Chief, thank you very much. Chief, thank you very much. We cannot be more thankful and appreciative for you and your teams making a difference when we have these kinds of fires, the great training that you have, making sure that you're keeping all of us safe, and like you said, no structures involved.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right.
To
all right, guys.
Community partners.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. A lot more Bayou time when we continue. Hello and welcome to this special edition of Bayou Time. We are your hosts, Tanner McGee, JD, Keith Whiteside, LCSW. Thank you so much for joining us. And Tanner, thanks for being here.
No, I'm glad to be here. I'm enjoying hosting, and I'm excited because we have a special guest here today that I get to be a part of.
I know that's right. You're exactly right. That person most of you know, Danny Piku with Terrible and Patriots. Danny, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Keith.
I appreciate it. Listen, I got to tell you, when you called and shared with me this idea of what you wanted to share, it echoes to me how important the little things are. And this story that I don't want to take a lot of time away from, I want you to be able to share this story. It just reminds me, one, of how special this fishing tournament is, how special what the Terrible Patriots are, and what you do for the wounded warriors and our veterans is immeasurable. And Danny, we can't thank you enough, but I think this story is a thank you enough. Please share that story with us.
Well, just to tell the public out there, Terrible Patriots was formed in 2008. To do a service at Terrebonne Parish, like a parade for the veterans, a memorial. And as the years went on, we had to stop it because of the COVID, the storms and everything else. We never got back to it. But in 2010, we joined up with the Wounded Warriors Project. First year, they sent down 4 families. And when I'm talking about the whole family, we took care of them, we took them out, we did. As of now, 13 years later, we're up to 142 wounded warriors that come in Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and leave to go home on Sunday. This year's, we had so much of a great turnout. We had so many boat captains that were calling us to put their boats into this thing. We had to turn down a lot of them. That's amazing what these boat captains do. All are volunteers. One of the guys that puts this together for us is Mr. Carl Adams from Houma. He called me this year and said, Mr. Danny, how can I help you? He said, can I organize the boats? Yes, sir. He organized this like you had never seen nothing organized, Keith.
Nice.
So anyway, we went out fishing for the day. We had a great time. We came in that night. We had a lot of our sponsors that came to the little banquet we had for them after. But one of the things that I want to tell what it meant to the veterans and the wounded warriors, what it meant to me, what it meant to my organization. A story on a veteran that came down in the past. He came down to Houma and he says, "This is the first time I've ever been to Louisiana in my life. I'm a fighter pilot. I'm a helicopter fighter pilot." He said, "That's what I did in the service." I said, "Yes, sir." Put him on the boats. He went out, came back in, enjoyed it. On a Saturday night, it was all over. He says, "Mr. Danny, I want to spend another day in Houma, Louisiana. I want to stay Sunday. Can you fix me up with a fishing trip?" Took me about 30 seconds to get him a fishing trip lined up. Sent him out Sunday. They went out. About 3 or 4 days later, he sent us a text message, and he says, the way it starts off, it says Skipper. And Skipper was the guy who was on the boat that was his captain. And I'll tell you who that is. That is Timmy Fonge.
Yep.
Timmy took him out fishing, and he says, "I want to thank y'all for saving my life." But when I saw that text, I stopped at that. What is this guy talking about? What happened to him, one of his fighter pilots lost his life a few months before, and it was driving him to the no ends. He didn't know where to go anymore. Well, when we found out, we knew nothing about this. When he called us up and asked if he could come down to Houma, Louisiana, we said, "You better believe it, you're our special guest." He came down. He went out fishing. And in the little speech he made on the text message was, "I want to thank y'all for saving my life. Without y'all, I would be dead today." And he goes on and on and on about his life. It gave me so much encouragement from that guy telling me that I'll be honest with you, I told y'all at one time I would never give this position up. I won't.
Well, Danny, I don't think you can. Because when you realize that one thing, a fishing trip, a fishing weekend, honoring our veterans, honoring what they've done, the sacrifices that they've made, and seeing the sacrifice that Terrebonne Patriots make, the sacrifices that it takes for 142 veterans to go out on boats at one time, organized to go catch fish, seems like something small. But it actually gave him the value and the support he needed to carry on, to not take his life.
He
right?
said, he said, "Thank the good Lord for saving my life, but I also want to thank y'all, because when can I come back again?"
Well, quite frankly, Danny, it was an act of God that helped save him, but y'all were the tools that used God's work to save him. I appreciate you wanting to come on and talk about this, because quite frankly, it's a sensitive subject. It's difficult for us to talk about the realism of what people go through. But I wonder how many people, after dealing with Ida and after dealing with COVID and feeling like they don't know if they can keep fighting, what a story like this will mean for so many people, right?
You're 100% right, Keith.
Because there's so many people that have, in the work that Tanner does in helping people make sure that they get the support that they need, whatever means it takes, you and the work that y'all do, making sure that people feel valued and honored and taking care of our veterans, something that we here at HTV care a great deal about, something that the Terrebonne Patriots is all 100% about, and then the volunteers that help y'all. That's the value. Let's talk about how we pay that forward before I go too long, as we talk about what Tim has done and being able to move that forward with Tim Saunier. As we got just a few 30 seconds left. Danny.
What it is, every year we don't have any fundraisers. We have a couple of companies that do fundraisers for us, but when we come back on the next segment,
we'll talk about a little bit. You know what, Danny? I like it, because you know what? We were going to do one. We're not. We're going to do two. It's too important for us to not talk about.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
So with Danny and Tanner here, thank you for joining us. We're going to be right back here on Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, Tanner McGee and Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. Tanner, a remarkable story here that Danny shares with us, huh?
Absolutely unbelievable. And he hasn't got a chance to share with us yet, but I think he's about to, is how much it builds. You know, it starts with one act and then more people get involved and it starts building and growing. And I think you have a new opportunity, I think, with the Hero Fest, right, to kind of fundraise and help more people.
Right. Tim Saunier is starting I guess it's called a Heroes Fest. It's going to be like the Thibodeau Fire Department. Fair in Thibodeau. Right. It's going to be big. It's on, I think, Keith, I'm not positive, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of this month. Okay. At the Civic Center. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take a food booth and we're going to sell hot dogs and chili fritos, and try to raise a little money for the veterans. Got 2 sponsors that called me up, and I'll mention their names. Advanced Safety Training and Consultants and Quality Rental Tools in town. Heard about us. They called us up and said, we want to sponsor y'all for this event. In the meanwhile, I was walking in the studio a few minutes ago, and they called me up and they said, guess what? We're going to donate a kayak to you. I said, a kayak? Yeah, you're going to sell it for $1 a chance to anybody who wants to buy. And if you make $3 on it, it's still your kayak. Right. So we're very excited about it, Keith.
Well, listen, I will tell you, one of those people you mentioned, Tim, and I think it's a great point, Tanner, that you bring up about how it is that people in our community, 13 years ago, we have 4 wounded warriors and their families come down. Last year, 142 wounded warriors. And that's the discussion that happens not only in the state, but across the nation. Absolutely. About people who know that we love our veterans down here.
Not only that, Keith, but when we start thinking about it, bringing that kind of people down to Terrebonne Parish, that's economic development. That's tourism coming in. They're going to go back to their communities. They're going to talk to other veterans. They're going to talk to their friends. And they're going to say, you know what? It's a pretty cool fishing spot down in Terrebonne Parish. And by the way, you got to meet this cool guy named Danny Pico. Is that right, Danny?
100% right. I tell you what, they come down, and when they leave, you start getting the phone calls already. Yeah. Put me down for next year.
Can I come back next year? Can I come back next year?
Do you have room for my friend?
Right. That's exactly right. We've now befriended and found a way to make a difference. And so, again, I think we would be remiss without mentioning the enormous support in our community. Tim Saunier is another one of those people.
Yes, sir.
You know, who spent his time in the military. Yes, sir. Who is so very committed to our veterans, our wounded warriors, and our veterans. Who runs the sheriff's office right now, our Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office, and so it's very nice to be able to have that kind of support as well.
We got the best support. Let me tell you something about Terrebonne Parish. As these wounded warriors come down from all over, you started with Louisiana, but now we had a few of them come from Texas, Florida, Mississippi, different places. They are saying that they have never been in a place in their life that the people treat them with so much respect. They don't want them to do anything. They want to treat them like they're kings. They're not kings, like they said. They're not heroes. They're just an average guy who went and did his job. For we could be up here talking about it and celebrating the lives of what they done.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. I know you don't like being considered that hero. They don't like being considered that hero, but that's what you are.
Absolutely.
When you make the difference for other people in the way that you do it, it goes so far, not only to bringing some joy, to helping people catch a few fish, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
But to save people's lives. Danny, there's so many levels that this works on. Right?
Yes,
and
sir.
it's why you can't stop, right?
Yes, sir.
I know he doesn't want the recognition, but I have to say, every time I see Danny in public, he's serving somebody, he's cooking for somebody, he's working, doing something. I never see him standing still. He's always active. It's amazing to watch. It's one of the things I'm lucky. I learned this when I got involved running for office, meeting Danny through that.
Right.
It's unbelievable. He works more in a week than I do in 2 months.
And I know you well enough. I know that that's not true. But the other thing that happens is that Danny's either doing something to serve others or he's offering.
Absolutely.
Call me. And listen, one of those people, sometimes people say that, you know, they say, oh, hey, give me a call if you need something. They walk away and I'm not sure that they mean it.
Oh, yeah.
I promise you, every time Danny says that, it's about being genuine. And that's what these veterans feel, Danny. These wounded warriors feel how genuinely we appreciate and love what they've done, and we honor them by bringing them out fishing.
Keith, what these guys and ladies have done for America is unbelievable. You know, and if we can't honor them, then we should just say bye-bye to the world and take out of it.
Yeah, we have to honor them. And so this Hope Fest is going to be, you mentioned the right dates. It is correct, September 22nd Hero Fest, September 22nd, 23rd, 24th.
Yes, sir.
And so really looking forward to that. We're going to bring you a lot more information about that here from HTV, and so you can pay attention. We're going to send more information about that. But Danny, let's talk a little bit about your Terrebonne Patriots and the volunteers that you do that do so much.
Well, Keith, like when we first started, we had 12 to 14 people on our committee. As the years went by, some of them retired. They got out of it, you know. But we got 6 steady people. And people say, Danny, you must have 40, 50, 60 people. Oh, yeah, we do. 5 of 6 of us that do
5
all
or 6 that do the work of 40 or 50
Fortunately,
or 60.
in all my life, I've had the time to be able to donate my time and still work and make a living for my family. Some of these other people don't have that luxury, okay?
Right.
So I'm the workhorse.
Right.
I'm the guy that don't want no recognition. I'll tell you to the public right now, I want nothing. All I want to do is make these wounded warriors and our local veterans feel like they're worth $1 million. And as long as I can, at 80 years old, I'm still going, and I still got 10, 12 more years.
There you
I'll
go.
tell you that now.
I like it. I like it.
I can see it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when you're 90. Danny, we're thankful and appreciative for what you do, your passion for our veterans, for what you do for the Wounded Warriors. And I can tell you on behalf of Tanner, myself, and HTV, we're thankful to have you for what y'all do. Thanks for being a part of this today.
Thank you all for having us.
All right, guys, and that'll do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more when we continue right here on HTV.
All right, welcome to Bayou Time. This is a special Bayou Time. This is one of those segments, especially if you're on Facebook or YouTube, that you're going to want to share with all of the constituents in Terrebonne Parish, because it deals with the flooding maps, it deals with FEMA, it deals with a lot of things. There's been a lot of information going around this parish that is not correct. And they have some people in a panic, from what I hear. Some banking institutions were also very fearful because they thought we had options when it came to these FEMA maps and whether the parish would sign off on it, accept it, or fight it. It's a very controversial situation, but it's one that warrants a full half hour of Bayou Time. So joining us now is the parish president of Terrebonne Parish, Mr. Gordon Dove. Gordy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Martin.
All right, so the problem is I'm looking at this letter that was dated July 28th from FEMA, and Rachel Sears, the director of the Floodplain Management Division, the Mitigation Directorate of FEMA, sent you a letter. But before we go to this letter, this is not a first-time FEMA situation. We can go back to the Claudia administration, 2008, when similar situations arose. So this has been ongoing for a while. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, Martin, it started in 2008. I believe the parish first rejected the maps in 2009. We rejected and objected to the flood to the different flood areas.
And rightly so, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, just like we objected, we objected in 2021 to the flood maps, and because we've been, since then we've been working on our own models, our own storm surge models, and remember the Corps. FEMA cut everything off 2019. I took office in 2016. So less than 3 years. Anything was built from 2019 on, they would not give us credit for. So naturally, we're going back and try to get credit because we've since then built 30 pump stations. The levee board's done levees. We've lifted levees. We've added floodgates. So we want all the credit in there. So this is not over with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is. We had to accept these maps or face consequences of no flood insurance at all. This wasn't a choice, you know.
Well, there's some in the community that actually, and I want to get this straight because this is important. A lot of people, a lot of realtors are panicking. A lot of bankers are panicking because some of them assumed that they had options, or the parish government had options. I've read over this letter, and I want to go over it with the parish president, because nowhere in this letter, let's just tell it like it is, from FEMA, does it say, we'd like to sit down with you and negotiate a time frame. She's pretty direct in that she will shut the parish off from any kind of flooding program.
And if you lose your flood insurance, banks cannot lend you money, because if it's a regulated, federally regulated loan institution, which all banks are, or federally guaranteed Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, they cannot lend money if you're in a flood zone, if you don't have flood insurance.
But let me ask you, and before we pull up the first bullet point, because we have a few bullet points that we're going to talk about, does it concern you that for whatever reason, I don't care if somebody thinks they're right or if they're using it for whatever leverage they could use it for, that this is alarming to a lot of institutions, especially banks? We all know how important banks are to Terrebonne Parish. We have some of the finest banks anywhere in the country right here in Terrebonne Parish. Very responsible people, responsible boards. This sent alarms to the banks, didn't it?
Yeah, and Martin, the banks all have this letter, and you know, it was sent to the banks. I'm on the bank board. I mean, so we're aware of it. And remember, it's not the end of the world if you're in a flood zone, because you have, we're going to show as the session goes on, how you could change your rating of the area you're in. And it's called LOMAR, and we're doing what's called CLOMAR with community rating, where we're working on a big area that we thought that we had objected to. So, and we have engineering firms and consulting firms working with that.
And let me ask you, before we take our first break, this is not to be confused with FEMA 2.0.
No, 2.0 is bad. Is really bad, because I mean, 2.0 you lose your grandfather status under 2.0, and next week we're actually going to federal court. 39 parishes, 10 states, led by Jeff Landry. You know, the Attorney General Jeff Landry and Liz Morrell, who works with them, and we're going to federal court, which I will be there.
All right, let's do this. We're going to take our first break here on Bayou Time. Don't go away. When we come back, we're going to show you verbiage. We're just not going to sit up here and tell you what FEMA said. We're going to show you what FEMA said. We've broken it down into some bullet points. When we come back, we'll show you those bullet points. This is important because, once again, I have people that live in my subdivision that are selling homes that stop me regularly and say, the realtors are scared to death, the people buying the homes are scared to death. I heard today some of the banking institutions were concerned. We got to stop this before it starts and becomes a panic, because they were very specific. The parish moved because they had to. We'll show you that after the break. All right, welcome back. Martin False with Parish President Gordon Dove. We're talking about FEMA, and it was a situation where the parish had to move. I am holding a letter that I received. It's dated July 28, 2023, certified mail, return receipt requested to Gordon E. Dove, Parish President, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, and it gives the address, so that is proof that he got it directly. It's from Rachel Sears. If we go to the next page, Aaron, there you go, Rachel Sears, who is the Floodgate Management Division of FEMA. Now, I want to, this is proof to everybody who says there wasn't a letter, that you actually received the letter.
Right, and she's head of the Floodplain Management Division of FEMA, and she is the director.
Yeah. All right, so let's go. I want to pull up the first bullet point, which we prepared for you, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to get the comments of the parish president. Here it is. Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government must adopt floodplain management measures, such as a floodplain management ordinance that meet or exceed the minimum NFIP requirements, copy enclosed, by September 7th, 2023, to avoid suspension from the NFIP. If suspended, your community becomes ineligible for flood insurance through the NFIP. New insurance policies cannot be sold, and existing policies cannot be renewed. That is alarming.
And then again, signed by Rachel Sears.
Right.
And that's telling us we had to, and remember, it has to lie over for 2 weeks. So we had to go to the council, and the council voted 8-1 to go ahead and.
But you didn't have much time. You got it. The council had to have the 2-week period. So you had a week really to get everybody together, have a special meeting, and vote on it.
Right. And more, the FEMA is like the Corps of Engineers. This is the federal government. You do it their way or the highway. We lose flood insurance of any magnitude in Terrebonne Parish, we are financially devastated. I mean, banks cannot lend money. I mean, you had to vote. You had to vote, and we had to get this done by the 7th. Now, this is not the end of the world. Some places became no flood zones. Some became non-flood zones. Some areas rose a foot. Some went down 2 feet.
It's your chance to actually lobby, isn't it?
Right. The bayous got hit the hardest. Down the bayous got hit hard.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're fighting that as we speak, you know.
All right, so let's do this. I want to bring up another bullet point if we can. Here's the next one. In addition, all loan individuals obtained from federally regulated, supervised, or insured lending institutions that are secured by improved real estate located in the SFHAs are also contingent upon the borrower obtaining flood insurance coverage on the building. So explain SFHA. We were talking about that before the program.
That's special flood hazard area, and that basically says a bank cannot lend you money if you're in a flood area. If
you don't sign this.
If we don't sign this.
Right.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. And you know, anyone out there that's spreading anything different absolutely doesn't know what they're talking about. I wish they'd come talk to me instead of making this stuff up, because there's a lot of misinformation going on and being passed out there by certain individuals, and it needs to stop. This is what had to be done. Now, we are trying to change areas at an area at a time. But some people did okay on this. Some people are thinking that everybody got slaughtered on it. No, but we went in there, we went area by area, and we objected to it a couple of years back.
So y'all going to lobby because you built pump stations, you built floodgates, you built higher levees. Y'all going to try to dismantle it area by area?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
Okay, very good. Let's bring up another bullet point. In the event your community does not, this is a key one. I want y'all to listen carefully. In the event your community does not adopt and/or submit the necessary floodplain management measures that meet or exceed the minimum NFIP requirements, I must take the necessary steps to suspend your community from the NFIP. This letter is FEMA's final notification before your community is suspended from the program. She ain't playing around here.
Signed, Rachel Sears, Director.
Right.
And she said, I must take the necessary steps to cancel us.
So how can anybody, it baffles me, because how can anybody misconstrue this and say that there were options? I'm hearing reports that some people are saying we could have got this suspended for 2 years. Was that even an option?
Some people make up twisted ideology politics, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves, because this is a matter of public record. It was vetted at the council. This was all read at the council meeting when it was voted on, and anyone going out with anything different is downright lying to the public or lying to whoever they're talking about, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. I mean, this is very serious.
Well, she was very serious. I can guarantee you. She didn't mince any words, and certainly anybody, you can play politics with a lot of things, but people's flood insurance is now one of them.
Remember this, Martin, the can was kicked down the road for 15 years, and they finally said, that's enough. And they said, you got to sign it, but you're still allowed to come back and fight for the certain areas that they went up higher on, on flood elevations. So this fight is far from over. 2.0 is a lot, is what is the biggest step we need to get over the hurdle because of the grandfather clause.
All right, hold that thought. We're taking a short break. We're coming right back. Last segment with Gordon Dove, Parish President. All right, welcome back. We're talking about the signature by the parish that FEMA mandated recently. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt around the parish. We're with the parish president. We're looking at facts, and we're not looking at innuendos thrown around by certain people. All right, correct me if I'm wrong. This is not the end all to this. Y'all were mandated. Ms. Sears said, sign it or lose it. Y'all signed it, 8-1 vote, but it's not the end of it. You get to fight your case.
And we've already been fighting it. Right. We were fighting it long before we signed this. Like I said, this goes all the way back to 2008. And after 15 years, they said, sign it. And remember, they also told Lafourche Parish, but where Lafourche got a reprieve is they made a mistake and they issued the official notice on the non-official newspaper. And so there was a technicality that they were able to extend theirs. And I hope they get to extend it for 2-3 years if they want. I mean, that's our friends over there.
Right.
But they have an official journal that they had to notify the public on official notice.
I can't believe FEMA made a mistake.
They made a mistake in Lafourche, but they didn't in Terrebonne.
I can't believe FEMA made a mistake.
So we were stuck with this. I mean,
let's bring up another slide. Y'all have this on y'all.
This is on our website. And if you go to tpcg.org/floodplain, PLAIN, it'll explain everything you need to do for your property.
New flood maps for Terrebonne Parish go into effect September 7th, 2023. That's the first one. And then here's a good question. How do I find out if I'm in a special flood zone? How do they do that? They go to the map, right?
The maps are available to view.
Okay.
But will not be effective till September 7th, which has already come.
Right, correct.
And to view a PDF version of the flood maps, go to tpcg.org floodplain, then click flood maps, and then to view an interactive flood map, scan the QR code, which as you see up on your screen, and then the next one, according to the flood map, I'm in a special flood hazard area.
Let's go to the next one if we can, Aaron.
Oh,
right
I'm
there.
sorry.
There you go. All right, that's okay.
Yeah, okay. And then the person looks at it and says, okay, according to the flood map, he or she is in a special flood hazard area. What does that mean? If you have a federally backed mortgage, you may be required to have flood insurance, which we all know that. Check with your insurance agent and lender if you have a mortgage. They will work with you to get appropriate flood coverage for your property. And the next one.
Yeah, what elevation will I be required to build to?
Right. The interactive maps on LSU's Ag Center's website will show the minimum flood elevation requirements for new construction. In addition, on August the 1st, 2023, the state of Louisiana building codes began requiring 1 foot additional elevation, 2 feet for critical facilities of education. Now, if you don't understand this, contact our permit office at 985-873-6567. What happened is the state passed an additional foot as of August the 1st. That's nothing to do with FEMA. That's the state passed that. Okay.
So on the error part, it says error if you feel that your property was mistakenly placed in a special flood hazard area, you can fill out a letter of map amendment LOMA.
That's right. It's LOMA, and then you have to meet the eligibility said by FEMA. And a lot of people have had their lots, their elevations lowered. Now, what the parish is doing is we're doing one called Houma, which is areas we're doing ourselves to try to help people out. We've been doing that.
Okay. So there you go. So bring the next slide up just to see, Aaron, the last one. What is TPCG doing right there? Terrebonne Parish is working hard on a community letter of map revision. This will allow Terrebonne Parish, I should say, to publish flood maps that include the most recent flood mitigation measures. TPCG must comply with FEMA's flood maps or be at risk of possible suspension from the National Flood Insurance Program. And says a possible suspension. She said, y'all will be suspended.
Right.
So she was a little more hardline in a letter with about a minute and a half left. So you've been doing a little, I guess, calming the waters down this week with banks and everybody else who are in Terrebonne, trying to teach them and show them that, whoa, slow down. We did the only thing we could do.
Right. I mean, like I said, there's individuals that are going around spreading something they know absolutely nothing about. We've been taking it one step at a time. We're doing everything humanly possible. As far as 2.0, that is the whole United States. That's not just us that we're fighting. That's everyone in Louisiana. 2.0, where you're going to lose your grandfather in. So we hoping to get an injunction next week on that. But like I say, I ask the public, please do not listen to someone out there. I don't care if they elected or not elected. They don't know what they're talking about. If they are not, we deal directly with FEMA. Most people don't deal with them. And Chris Pulaski, who runs that office, you're welcome to call Chris Pulaski in permitting or his people, and they'll walk you through anything you need. We'll work with you. We'll show you how to do a LOMA. And like I say, we're doing some steps for ourselves, but beware of people who don't know what they're talking about. It is a shame that someone's spreading that out there.
All right, there you have it, the parish president, right from the horse's mouth. And we'll take a break. We'll come back, share this on Facebook. It's very important.
What a great day for Terrebonne Parish. What a great day for the industry of Terrebonne Parish, and what a great day for Louisiana. Through the partnership of the state of Louisiana, the Corps of Engineers, and the Terrebonne Port and Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, this is a huge day for Terrebonne Parish. In 2005, when Rita devastated Terrebonne Parish, 11,000 homes flooded. Through the resiliency and work from the Corps of Engineers to the state to the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish, 14 years later, we flooded 11,000 homes in 2005. In 2019, under Hurricane Barry, we flooded 11 homes. And with the levee system that was built with the Terrebonne Parish, to date putting up $400 million between the funds from the state and other funding sources. We've got $1.4 billion invested into our levee system. And part of that is coming to deepening the Houma Navigation Canal. As you know, as vessels get larger, deep water draft is needed more than ever. The Bubba Dove floodgate, which is actually protecting us as we speak, was built in 2013 at a depth of 24 feet, minus 24, meaning 20-foot navigable. And of course, the Houma Navigation Canal we're going to 20-foot navigable to bring the larger vessels in.
Look, this project, what we're doing today is we're signing a cooperation agreement. We're signing an agreement to move forward on the deepening of the Houma Navigation Canal. Why are we doing it, and why does it matter? We're doing it because you're seeing trends that are happening globally, where you have vessels that are both wider and deeper. All across the world, you're seeing larger and larger vessels. And so if we don't deepen the Houma Navigation Canal, the utility of this canal is just going to continue to drop. So what does that mean to the local community? It means that some of the largest employers in our region, companies like Gulf Island, companies like Thomasy, companies like Schwest, are not going to have the workforce right here in this community, are not going to have the high-paying jobs, these opportunities that provide for entire families, entire households. As the president just went through and talked about, this isn't just about building fishing boats for our local community. This is about vessels for our United States Navy. This is about vessels for the National Science Foundation. This is about vessels for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This is about vessels for the Coast Guard. It's about constructing vessels. It's about repairing and servicing vessels for our United States government, for our military, for our national security, for research. These are critical missions. Now, in addition to that, as you all know, this region supplies somewhere around 20% of all of the nation's energy in the offshore. And this channel also provides a really important role for servicing the offshore industry, offshore energy production.
Good morning, distinguished guests. Mr. Jim Bodron and I are so honored to be here with you today from Vicksburg, Mississippi. I want to thank you, President Dove, for the warm welcome to your parish to celebrate this important milestone, improving this canal. What a beautiful day and key terrain for America. As I said, I'm excited to be here for a project that's just not important to the parish and Louisiana, but for our great nation. This ceremony would not be possible if it weren't for the great relationships between the Corps, the state, local officials, and stakeholders represented in this room today. We do not and cannot do anything by ourselves in the Army Corps. It takes partnerships like this and like those we have in the Mississippi Valley Division to achieve great results. And I appreciate those kind words, Congressman Graves. We do strive to get better each and every day. I want to thank the Louisiana Congressional Delegation for your commitment to this project. Today, Congressman Graves in attendance, as well as representatives, as you heard, from the Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, and Senator John Kennedy's office. Your presence today underscores the national commitment to this region, and securing congressional funding for this project has been an effort long in the making, which we heard earlier today. We're grateful for your dedication and your continued trust in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to deliver.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here in Terrebonne Parish as we celebrate two significant milestones towards the deepening of the Houma Navigation Canal. I'd like to thank our Commanding General of the Mississippi Valley Division, Brigadier General Kim Peoples, for joining us today. Ma'am, having our regional leadership here highlights the significance of this project, not just for South Louisiana, but also for the region and the nation. And as you heard, we would not be here today without a long list of partners and officials, from our congressional delegations to our state agencies, to the parish, the port, and all of our stakeholders. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to our continued progress moving forward. And today, we're here to recognize the signing of this partnering agreement between the Army Corps of Engineers, the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, and the Terrebonne Port Commission as we look towards finally the implementation of the $250 million Houma Navigation Canal Deepening Project. When you think about the Houma Navigation Canal, it's amazing. 36.7 miles serves as the interstate between our intercoastal waterway and the Gulf of Mexico. This system is vital to the region's economy, but more importantly, as you heard, to our national security. Not only that, the Houma Navigation Canal serves as a veritable lifeline for our marine energy industry. It allows manufacturers and service companies to support our offshore oil, gas, and wind energy industries as they create thousands of jobs and generate billions of dollars in tax revenue.
This is a great celebration for economic development for this region. I've been on this project. I'm a short timer compared to some of you. I started off at CPRA with Congressman Graves, Representative Zarang. It was a long time I've heard about this project. It was probably, I started in 2013 hearing about this project. I moved over to DOTD. Here this project was. We took it on as a non-federal sponsor study. It's called a 203. We spent a lot of time moving that forward. People don't understand how much is involved to getting to this point. And we have a lot of people to thank. The Corps of Engineers, our New Orleans district, phenomenal. Mark Wingate held this thing together. He saw it through different changes of command, and here we are today.
So I stand before you today in my 18th year as port director for the Terrebonne Port Commission. My entire tenure has been focused on increasing the agency's depth from 15 to 20 feet. I'm here 5 additional feet. Also, doing whatever possible to maintain the channel depth to keep industry working. Both tasks have been a battle. The agency is a vital corridor for one of the region's largest industries of marine vessel repair and construction for manufacturing and service companies to support the offshore industry, the seafood industry, and more recently the offshore wind industry, along with government agencies such as the U.S. Coast Guard, NOAA, the U.S. Navy, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Beyond its industrial significance, the agency is the economic lifeline of Terrebonne Parish, generating over 20,000 good-paying jobs and billions in tax revenue. Furthermore, it plays a pivotal role in national security, aiding the journey towards energy independence, especially as offshore renewable energy gains momentum. The agency also serves as a disaster relief route, facilitating the delivery of essential supplies and services during post-hurricane recovery efforts, ensuring timely aid to affected areas. Deepening the channel to 20 feet is responding to the maritime needs over the last 20 years and resulting in a compelling cost-benefit ratio of over 5 to 1, further reinforcing the agency's critical role in the regional infrastructure work. I would be amiss if I didn't thank my Board of Commissioners who tirelessly volunteered their time and have helped guide me through this ordeal. Please stand when I call your name. Board President Bill Purvis, Vice President Steve Crispino, Secretary-Treasurer Greg Landry, Dan Davis, Joe Caldwell, John W., and Jacob Brown. Thank you, guys. I also need to thank my lovely finance manager, Ms. Sandra Labat, who has a tough job of keeping me straight. And we could not have done this without Mike Henry and Norby Chabert, who navigate on our behalf in Washington, D.C. and Baton Rouge. Thank you, everybody. Just Garrett, I am the tallest port director in Terrebonne, okay? I just want you to know that. And when I started this job, I was 6'2". So thank everybody. I appreciate everything everybody's done.
I want to be clear, the port's holding things up right now.
Welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate, and it's my pleasure to introduce our guest, Terrebonne Parish President Gordon Dove. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jacob.
All right, it's something a little bit different this time. It's not hurricanes. It's another, I guess, disaster. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a real disaster, but it's something that has certainly got your attention. We're talking about, of course, the marsh fire that's happening along Surveillance and Highway 90 out there. Can you tell us, all the efforts that are going in to protect everyone?
Well, a couple of weeks back, a fire started out there, and it was small, but it was in towards the center of this basin that we're going to show you, this 4,000 acres, and then of course it just spread and kept spreading, and there was efforts to put it out, and then once it gets under that underbrush, we believe it travels, and we had a couple of heavy rains, and it wouldn't, it put it out, and then about 2 days later, it started back up again, and of course it's gotten very large, and so I made a decision, first of all, I want to thank the Bayou Cane Fire Department, the Bayou Black Fire Department, the Shreveport Fire Department, the City of Houma, and the Bayou Blue Fire Department. And, they all assisted because it got up to Savannah Road, and they were trying to keep it off Savannah Road. It was burning right on Savannah Road and on Highway 90. So, and along the levee, they kept spraying it with these, what they call these brush trucks. And so I want to thank them guys. They really did a fabulous job. But they can't get it to the middle of it. So that's when I stepped in, and then I made a decision to go ahead and flood it using pumps.
Okay, and let's see. I think we have a picture here that kind of shows the overall 4,000 acres, if you want to describe exactly what we're looking at.
All right, and if you look, if you look at that in the corner, that's Rouse's and Martin Luther King in the left-hand corner. And then if you follow those yellow dots, that's Savannah Road. From there all the way to the right is Highway 90. That's approximately 5 miles by about 1.5 mile basin. And actually this was property donated by Shell Oil that we're building a retention in. So we have the pump station under construction, but it's just piping right now. So naturally we had no pumps to use. So what we did is along that lower line, if we could go to the next slide, might show it a little better. Okay, so where it says Bayou Cane, the green on top, as you can see where Rouse is to the right and Martin Luther King, we went ahead, we've got 10 pumps that's pumping water out of Bayou Cane into this system. And then where the corner of Savannah Road and Whiskey Bayou to the right, we have numerous 18 and 20-inch pumps pumping into the system. And what I decided to do is to just go ahead and flood it. I mean, we're designing this thing to hold rainwater during a heavy rain, pumping it out of Bayou Cane and storing it and then releasing it. So the rain don't seem to want to put out the fire. I mean, it just keeps coming back, and then there's big timber out there that burnt. And our deal is to keep it away from these cypress trees. So we're running water below the cypress trees and doing as much as humanly possible. My public works, Joey Seahan, and I want to thank the Sheriff's Department. They've kept the roads blocked. And Tim Saunier and them been Johnny on the spot working with us. And their guys, he's flying a drone. We have GIS engineering. We're spotting the water to see how it's traveling as we fill this basin up.
Okay, and I guess the whole purpose of doing that is to, I guess, put out the fire, because, as you said, you had the rain will put it out temporarily, but you have the undergrowth that grows, and maybe you think it's out, but they still have those embers underneath it where the rain doesn't get to. And the only way to, I guess, get to that is to flood it.
You got to douse it. Sure. And you've got some timber that's catching fire, this big timber, and the rain just doesn't put it out. It smolders. And it takes a couple of days, and it comes right back up. So, the only thing to put it, like on this next picture, is if you look in the background of this picture where we're flowing water, you look at the glare in the back, you can see the fire way off. And it's all over. It's 4,000 acres, so it just flares up at different spots. You never know when it's flaring up. It's a very, very unique marsh fire. Remember, this is all wetlands. This is all normally wet, and you can walk through it. It's dry, but you can't run equipment in it. I mean, if we could run equipment, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, you're normally in hip boots of waders and slogging through there.
Right.
But you can.
So if you look at the next picture, that's a picture of the excavator.
Oh, yeah.
That's when we were cutting the canal that we were going to flow water through right towards where that fire's at. And that's an excavator working at night. I mean, we've been working around the clock on this thing. If you look at the next page, that's where we were cutting the channel, and we've got all these 20 and 24-inch and 18-inch pumps that's pumping. And we're pumping about 170 million gallons per 24 hours. And that's both, the ones on Bayou Cane levee and here. and we just got to, this is originally wetlands. I mean, we just bringing it back to wetlands because it's dry, you know?
Sure, yeah, we've had a very unseasonally dry, I guess, last few months, and then you also had lower river conditions all year, so you had lower water levels that you historically don't see, especially the last few years where we're dealing with the other problem where high water. But
well, you know, swamps that were never dry. This is all freshwater swamps and what they call freshwater marsh and bottomland hardwood. You with the levee board, so you know exactly what I'm saying when I talk about bottomland hardwood.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you something. Our public works and all our guys have done a wonderful job. And Steve Pondville and I'm bringing my hats off to them guys. They've been working around the clock.
Oh, yeah, it's some great efforts going in, and we have some more we want to show you, especially some images from drone footage. But we do need to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right here on HTV. Welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate, talking here with Terrebonne Parish President Gordon Dove. During the break, we were talking a little bit about one area right now, Savannah Road, where that is currently closed. Can you tell us, the reasons behind that and what's all going on there?
Because we have excavators, bulldozers, trucks unloading, and sometimes it's just covered with smoke. Mm-hmm. But when it's not covered with smoke, a lot of people are calling and said, well, why is it not open? Well, because we got equipment back and forth on the road. We don't want anybody to get hurt, including our own operators.
Sure. And if you want to pull up the next slide, show you some of the equipment out there. Can you tell us where this is at?
This is on Bayou Cane Levee. That's when they were setting it up. That's a couple of days ago. They've been running for a couple of days now. And
those are some temporary pumps that were
That's just all portable pumps. That's some 12-inch pumps they're putting. That's corner Savannah and Whiskey Bayou. We were setting up a bunch of equipment there, and that's the same place. See the bridge on Savannah Road. We're pumping out of Whiskey Bayou, which is fed by the intercoastal all the way. So you got plenty of water source there. You won't run short of water because that goes into Little Bayou Black, which goes into the intercoastal. And that's just more pictures, and you can see the kind of equipment we have out there that's pumping out of Whiskey Bayou we're actually taking dry land and making wetlands with it, basically what we're doing. We're doing a reverse of what we've been doing. I've been building pump stations to dry out the parish.
Sure.
Now I got to wet it up because of the fire, So
it's a little bit different working back.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not, a small task at all. You can see all this equipment you got there. It's certainly a large task that you've got on your hands.
They keep flipping. That's just different pictures of, these are some 20-inch pumps, and this is some massive pumps, and we have a total of 20 pumps, large and all the way down to 8 inches. And you can see that's that channel we just dug to get the water towards the fire that you saw in that dark picture. Yes. And as you can see, we're flowing a lot of water. And next one, you can see the smoke haze right there. And that's where we're discharging. You kind of see the smoke haze in the background. See, now that's right there is on, that's on Bayou Cane. But look way in the back, you see that? That's that big basin. We got to flood that whole thing, and we've got a good percentage of it flooded. So it's the water's moving throughout that system, and that's pumps on Bayou Cane. You're looking at with those white pickup trucks, and we're pumping out of Bayou Cane, and that's a pond. That was a big lake inside that system, and that's all that's left of that lake. That's how small it is. But you can see where it burned up to it. And you can see how much is burned on this next picture. Look, I mean, it's just massive, and it's got so much underbrush. Even if it looks burnt, it'll ignite back up again. So the only way I figure, and I'm working with a lot of other people, and my engineers and all, and I believe is to douse it, and that's to put just, and we have the capability to do it on this piece of property. This 4,000-acre piece of property.
4,000.
Yeah, you can see how it walks in a line, like a marching army. It's
You don't have any structures out there or anything. It's all just wetlands.
It's just relentless. It's and if they keep going, we'll make it to a video and we can. So that's just pictures of it. You know, you can see all what's burnt behind it, and that's what we're trying to stop. You know, and even the burnt part ignites again because it's got so much underbrush, that it just keeps going. And yeah, that's a video, huh?
Yeah, that's the video. I think this was taken today, was it? Jason, is that right?
Yeah, that's the day, I believe, huh?
Yes, that is today's video. So you can see how much it is currently
and
burning.
You see this. See the high lines. Right now, the high lines are flooding. I'm flooding those high lines. You see right there. I've got pumps. We got water all the way down there. So when it reaches the high lines, it should stop it. And you know, so as you can see, it's working its way. So we're drawing our line of defense, so to speak, and flooding it out as much as we can to stop that roar. It looks like like I said, it looks like an army. And if they want to go to the next one, because we're gonna run out of time, that's how it looked before all these fires. It's all pristine, beautiful, and
nice and green now.
Nice and green. That's a video prior to the fire, and I just wanted to show the public. It'll grow back, you know. I mean, that's one thing about marsh. Freshwater marsh is pretty resilient, and
oh yeah, it'll come back healthier than ever, probably.
And it's a beautiful piece. It is owned by Terrebonne Parish, 4,000 acres. It was donated by Shell Oil, and of course we're making a retention out of it to pump water out of Bayou Cane. When we have massive rains, Bonanza can't take all the water. So we have, the models show us we need to take some water and store it. So this is, we were gonna store it in here anyway, but it's normally wet. So, you know, and we're gonna keep it wetlands like this, so.
You know, because of the unique opportunity to where it's at, you're able to flood it up. It's not like just a forest fire out in the middle, and, you know, this is nice and contained.
And I talked to Go South, you know, that's Louisiana emergency operations, and we have a good chance they're going to fund everything. We just have to submit our paperwork, and we're the only one in the state of Louisiana that's flooding instead of just fighting it. So when we finish, it's going to be out.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us an update. We certainly appreciate it. Stay tuned for more right here on HTV.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And I'm very excited to have my friend and colleague here in the studio with me, Captain Brendan Mathern, Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And so thanks for all that you do coming. I know today was an important day and celebrating that Mass and being here. And so thanks for being present. As usual, we have some breaking news, but it's some good news to bring.
Yeah, we did make 2 arrests in our recent missing persons case that led to a murder investigation. Right. 34-year-old Troy Michael John Lewis of Thibodaux was reported missing on September 17th. His body was found the very next day in Assumption Parish, and it was found in Bayou Lafourche. So already we were dealing with a homicide investigation spanning 2 parishes. So Lafourche and Assumption Parish initially started that investigation. Right. Ended up, as we continued to build up investigation and as well as possible suspects, we landed on 2 individuals, one of which lives in Terrebonne Parish, and that was Tierra Pendleton. Right. And pictured here. Correct. And the other person, Eddie Clark III. Those were the 2 suspects that we were looking at. Pendleton lives in Terrebonne Parish on the northern end near the Thibodaux area. We executed a search warrant at her residence. We found evidence of around the crime at her residence. Clark was actually present and tried to escape custody at the time, but we did get him into custody very quickly thanks to our friends at the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office SWAT team. So now you've got 3 jurisdictions involved.
Wow.
And then as the investigation continued, vehicles that were used that night in the commission of the crime were located one in Marrero in Jefferson Parish and another in East Baton Rouge Parish. So 5 jurisdictions involved in this investigation, but ultimately what it led to was 2 individuals charged with second-degree murder, Pendleton and Clark, second-degree murder in the murder of Troy Michael John Lewis. So obviously a huge thank you to all of those sheriff's offices that lended their hand in the investigation. And quite frankly, they were all very helpful in ultimately bringing all that evidence together. And evidence is the key word here. A lot of times when we're investigating murders, we do have evidence, but sometimes it's a lot of testimony as well, eyewitnesses, and certainly that'll all play into it. But the evidence found inside the vehicles, inside the residence, all ties back to the victim, to the crime scene. And so we believe that we have a solid case that we're going to hand off to the district attorney's office.
Well, and you talk about the complexity of some of these cases where we see not only did the crime potentially take place in one area, the body was found in a different parish, they live in other parishes, and the vehicles have been found or located in other areas. But it's gathering all of that data that's so important, because we can't build a case without that evidence and that credible data.
You know, we often talk about how all of our law enforcement agencies in the area work together, and without that cooperation, we wouldn't be able to investigate a case like this. Crime, as you know, knows no boundaries, and it knows no jurisdictional differences. You know, when these criminals are committing crimes, they're not thinking about necessarily that they're committing a crime one place, dumping a body in another place, and maybe dumping cars in another. They're just trying to get away with the crime that they've committed. It's up to us on the investigation side to bring all of those all of those investigators from all of those different jurisdictions together, sort of put our cards on the table and make heads or tails of the case. It is very difficult to do, but thankfully we have some of the world-class detectives at our agency as well as our surrounding agencies to be able to work together and, you know, kind of connect all those dots and come up with, you know, arrests, in this case, 2 second-degree murder charges. Yeah, and again, so the gentleman, Troy Michael John Lewis, 34 years of age, was found in Assumption Parish on September 18th. This is him pictured here, and we have the 2 people that are charged with second-degree murder, Eddie Clark III and Tiara Pendleton, pictured here as well. And again, we talk about how we're just so very glad these things have kind of happened so quickly. I'm so very impressed that because these kinds of situations, in my opinion, years ago, took so much longer. I think it's the sharing of information and the data transfer of understanding and people's willingness to work together. No question. And throw into that the technological advances. You know, our license plate recognition cameras that are all over the parish and all over surrounding parishes. You know, reading the 5 or 6 pages I read this morning of that arrest warrant, a lot of technology was used to be able to track these individuals, and not even using license plates on the proper vehicles. That's how advanced the technology is, the investigation is, to be able to track all of these things and be able to still make an arrest and still make heads or tails of the information that you're looking at. Phenomenal. Tracking cell phone usage, data, Bluetooth, everything.
Right. All of those
plays
things.
into it.
Right. And now some other information that we got. We don't have a lot of information, but let's talk about this bombing, the bomb threat that we heard about.
Sure. Thibodeau High School today was evacuated due to a bomb threat. We did not believe there was any credibility to it, but obviously we, out of an abundance of caution, we do investigate, evacuated the school. Obviously no children were hurt. The investigation completed, and the school was issued the all clear. Really, the unfortunate thing about this incident is it lended itself to a huge, a lot of different rumors.
Okay.
And rumors all over the map, from school shooting to an overdose to someone dying. None of that is true. All of that is rumors, and that's ultimately the issue when you're sharing information that's not from a credible source. You're inciting panic in a situation that otherwise doesn't need any.
And so that situation remedied very quickly, and we do not feel that there's a threat at this time.
Exactly.
Everything seemed clear. Captain, we thank you so very much for everything that you do, and more importantly, coming in and share that stuff with us.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks for having us.
All right. And that will do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. A lot more right here on Bayou Time.